Everyone, welcome to a special one-off edition of the GDQ Hotfix where we are going to be having a Celeste Bingo tournament both today and tomorrow. Super excited to be hosting this, of course, as you know, Celeste is a wonderful game, and I think Bingo is such a unique format that maybe not a lot of you have seen before. So we're going to have commentary on that's going to be explaining each match, what's going on, how is this different than normal speedrunning, all that good stuff. Before we get into the first matches of the tournament, just want to say that One and Doneathon is coming up again, where you can show off your favorite run, and that's your only appearance in the series. Second installment's going to be happening August 13th to 14th, and submissions are open now until July 20th. So use !OADAT in chat to find out more info and submit your run. I got my run in. I'm super excited to see the schedule for that. Flame Fatales is going to be having its next all-women's speedrunning event, Flame Fatales, from August 21 to 27. The schedule is out now. You can go to gamesdoneclick.com/schedule to see what that is, or !FF for more information on what Flame Fatales is. And we have bingo today and tomorrow. So if you're going to be enjoying this, be sure to tune in tomorrow, also starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I believe it's pretty much time for us to almost get started with our first match. Before we jump in, I have two of our commentators for the weekend who are going to explain a little bit about what Lockout Bingo is, what are our goals, how players win, and with me I have Akko and Crab. How are y'all doing?
Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing good myself. I'm Akko, aka Chocolate Orange. You can call me either one if you want. I'm joined by Crab, of course.
Yeah, hi, I'm Crab. I also go by Retrisma on social media since Crab is usually taken.
Awesome. They're two of our four commentators. We're also going to have LM Jax and TrueGen here for more of our matches. And these four people are going to kind of be your, vessels of understanding the strategy. So y'all want to kind of just give us an overview of what Lockout Bingo entails in Celeste?
Crab's going to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in a minute on stream, you'll see a bingo board of 25 objectives, 5x5. And the goal of this format is to be the first one to tick off the majority of objectives on the board, which happens to be 13. And this is Lockout Bingo, which means that we're not really going for 1 line or 3 lines or whatever, but the goal is if you tick off an objective, then your opponent is no longer allowed to tick off that objective anymore. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into choosing which objectives to tick off at a time, which ones to go for. And yeah, so this tournament will be single elimination over the next 2 days, and we will have best of 3 finals. Aka?
Yeah, so alongside that, we do have some custom progression rules for Celeste Bingo. And so what that entails is that typically in Celeste, if you're not aware, the chapters are unlocked linearly. So chapter 1 unlocks chapter 2, chapter 2 unlocks chapter 3, and so on and so forth until the DLC chapter, Farewell, chapter 9. But in our case, we have a few custom progression rules in order to make the game more suitable for Lockout Bingo. So chapter 8, that's the core, is unlocked from the beginning of the game, but that chapter requires 4 hearts to enter. So there's still a gate for entry there. And then chapter 9, that's Farewell, is unlocked after chapter 4, Golden Ridge. And then we also have chapter 7, the Summit, which gets unlocked after completing chapter 5. So after chapter 5, you're able to go into both chapters 6 and chapter 7. Which is Reflection and the Summit. And then you're allowed to assist skip. So assist mode in Celeste allows you to skip chapters, and we've incorporated that feature to allow runners to skip 1 chapter of their choosing, which generally allows them to play around the board better and just, make a jump in progress if they need to. And so all of these custom progression rules are intended to make it so that the interplay between your execution and your routing skill is there, and there's a balance of the two when we're playing Celeste Bingo. It'll be clear once we get into it how those tend to make things a little more interesting and spicy.
Fantastic.
With that said,
yeah.
go
Thank you both so much for that overview. And if people have questions, you can continue to ask in the chat. We've plenty of community members who would be happy to answer, or of course we can answer on the mic as well. But are our players ready? Want to check in on them, see if we're ready to go?
Yeah.
And also, part of the custom progression is that you can't skip any of the prologue stuff. So players get time to overview the board, and we'll have time to overview the board and kind of talk about the patterns we see and what players might be thinking about.
Great. Akko, do you want to count off first?
Sure. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it.
And
Well, we have one more count off.
Oh.
no. The runners should be going now.
Sweet.
Awesome. We do have separate count offs for revealing the card and going.
Yep.
All right.
That
so
said-
looking at this board. So something we think about a lot when it comes to routing lockout boards is what path through the game the players will think about taking. The longest early game chapter is chapter 3, which means that playing or not playing chapter 3 is a really big decision. What do you see here in the early game lockup?
Yeah, so regarding chapter 3, just briefly so that we can finish that thought, I do see that there's 5 objectives here. We have Theo in Elevator Shaft, all berries in Elevator Shaft, Grabless Presidential Suite, all berries in Presidential Suite, and blue and red in Celestial Resort. I'm not sure if there's something I'm missing there. Do you see something I missed?
Yeah, there's Old Site and Pico 8.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you. So that is a decent number of objectives. That's 6 objectives. Remember, you only need to get 13 objectives to win the match. However, a lot of these objectives, so Elevator Shaft and Presidential Suite are the 2 last checkpoints of chapter 3. So a lot of these objectives are late into chapter 3, and it's a big time investment to go for those right away when there's a lot of miscellaneous objectives on this board, which we will get to in the mid game, I believe. But right now,
Yep.
in the early game, as the runners enter chapter 1, we do see Talk to Theo in Crossing on the board, which I wouldn't be surprised to see one runner go for. It's worth noting that this costs about 20 seconds, I would say, for a runner to go in.
Maybe a bit more.
So go ahead.
So it does look like Marlin is going for Talk to Theo in Crossing, whereas Gooms is moving ahead in City. This is a really easy way to see how routing affects the game. Even in the first 30 seconds of the game, Marlin is stuck near the beginning of this checkpoint, whereas Gooms is near the end. We call that a progression advantage on Goom's side, but Marlin has an objective advantage. So it's interesting to see how each player will transmute those advantages into trying to win the game.
Yeah. What's interesting is, oftentimes I would say that Talk to Theo in Crossing is not a great objective to go for on the first pass, because generally a 20-second progress lead this early into the game is pretty significant, and there's often other objectives that you could get for cheaper. So for example, Talk to Theo in Awake is another objective that will be coming up in the end of chapter 2 in the A side. But there are other objectives that that provide synergies that might make this less interesting for Marlin. So something I didn't mention when I was talking about custom progression is that you can actually there are B-sides in the game which you unlock by collecting cassettes, and these harder levels of the game were not intended to be used as a progression path. But actually, if you complete the B-side of a level, it allows you to unlock the next level of the game. This is just a thing that Celeste does by itself. It's not part of our custom progression. There is some stuff on this board that does seem to be appealing for that. So complete 2 B-sides and 6 hearts are on the board, for example. With that said,
back to the game.
Go ahead. Both of these players are in 2A right now.
Yeah, so both players also going out of their way to grab a few berries. There is 10 berries and 3 chapters on the board, which players could be setting up for to go for a little bit later. Both players have opted to play 2A. And it is interesting to see whether Goons will choose to talk to Theo and Wake, because he knows that he has an objective advantage. Also, I don't think we have a color indicator on stream currently. Marlin is green and Gooms is orange, or will be orange when he takes something.
Yeah, we're currently working on that.
Awesome.
Hopefully.
There aren't too many early game objectives here, so I can definitely see Marlin's choice to go for Talk to Theo and Crossing, and I would say I agree with it. But we do see Gooms getting the trade by getting Talk to Theo in Awake. I believe Theo in Awake is slightly faster than Theo in Crossing, but relatively marginally.
Yeah, it is slightly faster, and you will see Gooms exiting 2A slightly before, but for the most part, they'll be tied going out of old site.
It's worth noting these two are some of the, this is the highest level in terms of execution that you'll see, and they also have big brains when it comes to bingo routing. So
yeah, we can't overstate how good these players are.
Oh.
Briefly, yeah.
This is really
Gooms-
interesting. Yeah, Gooms is electing
going into
to
3A.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but Gooms is going into 3A to try to snap off those late 3A objectives. But Marlin opted to skip 3A, go into 4A, looking at objectives like Golden Ridge Cassette. Super interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that they evaluated this board differently. So where you use your assist skip is kind of one of the most fundamental questions of how you're planning your route for a game. So Gooms not using the assist skip in 3A is a commitment to not taking progress. Like, Gooms is giving up the ability to get to late chapters on time, essentially, unless he's electing to skip chapter 5, which is a possibility. We'll have to look at more of the late game on this board. But this route difference means that Gooms is going to be spending a lot of time getting these miscellaneous objectives in 3A that we mentioned before, while Marlin will have much faster objectives, but they'll be more spread out. So Marlin will have more of an opportunity to get a progress lead off of this, is basically what we can take away.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a mirror skip looking at the objectives, because there's not a ton there from what I'm seeing.
And there's a good amount of late game.
Exactly. So I would not be surprised to see a mirror skip.
At the same time, I also wouldn't be surprised to see Gooms go and collect miscellaneous objectives. Especially, so a big thing here is players are allowed to tick off objectives whenever they want after they have completed the objective. They do not need to tick it off right away. You'll see that we have Marlin having ticked off Golden Ridge Cassette because he didn't know where Gooms is right now. And so Marlin is forced to take that off as soon as he gets it to avoid risking Gooms stealing the objective from him. And now that Gooms has that information advantage, he can conceal this 3A potentially pretty easily.
So the main difference between their routes, aside obviously from the chapters that they're playing, is the information that they give off versus the progress that they win. So as mentioned, Marlin is getting a progress advantage at the cost of information. Gooms knows exactly where Marlin is, or has a very strong educated guess that he's late in ridge. Marlin, on the other hand, has no idea whether Gooms is playing 3A right now, or also skipped 3A and just lost the race to Golden Ridge Cassette. So Gooms is able to kind of hold that information over Marlin's head by choosing to not immediately tick off these resort objectives.
I do want to note, so regarding what we were talking about with skipping chapter 5, there is a lot of stuff that's in Chapter 6 that I'm seeing right now. There's the Blue Heart, there's Grabless Hollows, and there's Reflection B-Side. Though those aren't entirely synergistic with each other, and Reflection B-Side is a very long objective that you can't really commit to.
Poor Pixel Trick, you'd love to see it.
Did I miss something? Did I miss an execution?
There's just been a lot of gaming going on in Golden Ridge.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because we're talking about the we tend to talk more about the routing stuff than the execution, but Marlon definitely had an incredible foray there. There was a first try, second block list that looked incredibly clean.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the expert players, it's like, oh, it's because, you know, they have a lot of bingo experience, but you just look at this and you're like, these are just incredible speedrunners of the video game.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so it is worth mentioning that Marlon is ahead and has moved on to Mirror Temple, whereas Gooms is entering Presidential Suite, which is the last checkpoint of 3A, choosing to turn on Grabless for Grabless Presidential Suite.
Did Gooms talk to Thea?
He did, and he also got all berries in Elevator Shaft and the cassette.
So this is exactly what we mentioned before. We see multiple objectives already being held off the board. So Gooms has 2 objectives in his pocket and progress towards a 3rd, or progress towards a 4th as well.
Yeah, kind of reiterate that runners can choose to tick off objectives whenever they like after they have met the requirements for ticking them.
With that said, where do we expect to see? Oh, Marlon's going to 5B. Yeah, I like this. There's definitely a lot of things that incentivize B-sides on this board, and the stuff that's in 5A, aside from Grabless Search, the only thing I really see is Stun Seekers 15 times, which can be completed in both 5A and 5B.
Yeah, although it does look
said,
like, yeah, he grabbed the cassette and is now moving on in the A side to maybe try to set up for Grabless Search.
Okay, I like this. I think he has the read. I think he has the read that Gooms must be in 3A. So while we know that Gooms is able to conceal this information, you can kind of by the lack of information try and make assumptions. So it's possible that, for example, Gooms was directly behind Marlon doing exactly the same things and just got locked out of the Ridge cassette. But in that situation, because Marlon basically stole the objective from Gooms, in theory, Marlon would already have a decent advantage gained from that. So generally in those kinds of situations, you don't want to play around the situation where you locked out your opponent. And especially in this situation with no other tick-offs on the board, it's very suspicious because I feel like in my eyes, if Gooms was in that situation and had gotten locked out of cassette, I would have grabbed one of the miscellaneous objectives just to push Marlon further on that progress path, or get him to waste his progress lead to get a miscellaneous objective himself.
Yep, so Marlon is actually backtracking here a little bit to get the Blue Heart in 1A, as well as a few berries. This sets up for 6 hearts, the core objective, which you need hearts to enter, and 10 berries in 3. Gooms is also getting a bunch of berries along the way in Ridge. So we do have a 10 berries in 3 race here.
Yeah, it is a bit asymmetrical.
Yeah.
I do think Marlon is ahead, only slightly though.
I think again, because I think Gooms got 10 berries in 3A, if I'm not mistaken. Which means that if he gets 10 in 4A, he can backtrack to 1A and win it.
Right. The other thing is that he would have to, Gooms would have to reach a checkpoint after that point, right?
This is true, yeah. It is very close, either way. It depends on whether these players are going to commit to 10 and 3 or progress. And at this point, it's really hard to tell.
Oh, and Gooms just unleashed all the objectives he was holding.
Here we go.
Yep.
So we see
So-
4 different 3A objectives turn orange. All berries in elevator shaft, Growlithe presidential suite, talk to Theo in elevator shaft, and all berries in presidential suite.
Yep. So now Marlon knows for sure that Gooms went to 3A, so he knows that he has a major progress lead. However, he may not know that Gooms is actually right about to enter late game because he just has Cliff Face left, which is like a 40-second checkpoint. Oh, never mind. Gooms quits out and looks to be contesting 10 berries in 3 chapters.
Right. So the reasoning behind a lot of this is probably mostly timing. I would say that the amount that Gooms delayed the 3A objectives without seeing a tick off from Marlon was probably to the point where Gooms was like, okay, at this point, Marlon could be this far into 3A if he, for some reason, went back and immediately did that. So I'm just going to tick these off just to make sure that I'm not getting locked out after spending so much time getting these objectives. And then again, after not seeing other tick offs like something like Grabless Search or Stun Seekers, it heavily implies that Marlon has paused on the progression path to go back and pick up miscellaneous objectives. So as a result, Gooms wants to pick up 3 and 10 before Marlon ticks that off.
Yep. And Gooms does tick off 10 berries in 3 chapters.
Did I
goes
say
back
3
into
and
Cliff
10?
Face. Yeah.
There's not 10 chapters that you can get berries in, unfortunately.
Well, at least 3 berries. If you want to go really hard and get some golden berries, you can get at least 1 or 2.
True.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that something in high-level bingo play that we see all the time that you're already seeing is just the amount that people are quitting out and jumping around places. Because once you unlock the checkpoint, you can come back. And so a lot of times, you'll just go hit a checkpoint, leave, come back and do something else. And I would say as bingo players get more and more comfortable, you see that more instead of maybe beginner or intermediate players are going to just finish out chapters instead of realizing when the best time to quit out is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a degree to which it's sunk cost, right? Where people commit to something, and once they realize that it's not the best option, their thought is, I'm already here, I'm going to finish doing whatever I was doing, even though they probably would be better off just leaving.
Yep, 100%.
So,
And people in chat are talking about the Seeker Bop indicator. So that's Bingo UI, which is a mod you can download. And it not only shows Seeker Bops, it shows like Ochiro Bops and how many hearts you have of each color. And just a lot of really useful information, including you can see that, Marlon has Grabless, or did have Grabless. It's really useful from a viewer perspective and also just keeping track of what you've done.
Yeah. So interesting stuff going on here in the game, because Marlon knows that Gooms has an objective advantage and can reasonably assume that he also has a progress advantage. So instead of trying to contest late game by finishing chapter 5, which would be a losing race, instead he's opting to enter 3A to cut off Gooms' win con. Now what I mean by win con is Gooms' path to reaching 13 objectives, which at this point Marlon's goal is to try to disrupt. If you look at the board, there are 2 objectives in 3A which Gooms has access to but has not gone for yet. There's Old Side in Pico 8 and Blue and Red Heart in Celestial Resort. So if Gooms is trying to lean on those objectives to get to 13, Marlon can disrupt Gooms by stealing them.
Right. So this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier, where potentially Gooms' goal as someone who's playing 3A, as someone who's taking these relatively slow objectives, Gooms wants to get Marlon to nice
Very cool.
cassette room from Gooms. Sorry, but basically, Gooms wants to get Marlon to commit to early stuff so that Gooms can make up the progress. And sure enough, at this point, he's pretty much fully made up that progress, and in fact is ahead, because Marlon went a bit greedy in Temple, in my opinion, by going for the cassette and then going for the 5A objectives. I do think that on this board, I would have liked to see him play 5B.
Yeah.
With that said, Gooms being in 6B, is definitely nice, because 6B is faster than 6A for progression. But, well, actually, I mean, it doesn't matter in bingo at all. But the reflection B side is an objective on the board. And so currently, Gooms' goal is basically to just get miscellaneous objectives, especially because Marlon, I just want to note, that's Marlon's first tick-off in 13 minutes. So Gooms has no idea where Marlon is, but is making an educated guess that Marlon will not be committing to reflection B side right now.
Yeah. And I would also like to mention that reflection B side is a very long objective for right now, so I would guess that Gooms is just playing the start checkpoint to get the 2 binos in this chapter and will quit out. Yep.
Yeah, that is definitely a reasonable play. So a big part of bingo routing is identifying synergies on the board and exploiting those synergies. And one big synergy here is that we have complete 2 B-sides, use 5 binoculars in B-sides, and reflection B-side on the board, as well as 6 hearts, but to a lesser degree.
Yeah. And it is fun little Easter egg here. The devs added that bino off to the left in the chapter 3 B-side specifically for bingo, and there is one more they added later in the chapter as well.
We love to see it, truly. we needed 3B to be stronger, and it happened.
We got a developer buff for 3B.
So good.
But yeah, I really like this 3B play here. That's going to get Gooms the objective blue and red in Celestial Resort, and Gooms will also be 1 bino away from use 5 binos in B-sides, and then can potentially complete reflection B-side to get 2 more objectives there as well. So this is just, again, what we're talking about with Gooms' win condition. Right now, Gooms is in just aggressively grab objectives mode, because basically, like, once you're in the position where you're up objectives, the best thing you can do is pressure your opponent into having to make a 50-50 play. And once Gooms has 10 or so objectives, which we will be getting to pretty close here if Marlon can't contest some of these, which it's possible that Marlon could. It's worth noting that Marlon is one of the fastest B-sides, and has the 1A cassette, I believe.
He does. So if he chooses to commit to it, he has a very real chance of winning that objective. And also, if you're confused why Marlon was retrying, he was farming Seeker Stunts to get to 15.
But yeah, so again, Gooms is just trying to aggressively gain objectives here to put pressure on Marlon. And Marlon is, of course, aware of exactly what Gooms wants to do, because on this board, this is the highest value synergy on this board, I would argue.
Yeah, definitely. Between All Berries and Hot and Cold, 6 hearts, 2 B-sides, 5 binos and B-sides, and blue and red in Celestial Resort. There's a lot to be had there.
Yeah. Just to be clear, the reason that All Berries in Hot and Cold would be an objective that synergizes with these is that at the end of each B-side, you do get a heart basically for free. And so since we need 4 hearts to enter core, any objectives in core are lightly tied to any objectives that incentivize gathering hearts on a board. And on this board, the heart incentivizing objectives are B-side objectives.
Yep. Nice pause buffer demo from Gooms there on the right. Okay.
Oh, Gooms is going to get the 1A cassette. Marlon doesn't go in for the
1B race.
I feel
that
like
would have been insane.
I feel like after seeing the blue and red and resort tick off, you almost have to, right? I guess
I'm surprised to not see a race. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the blue and red in resort takeoff comes 5 minutes after the reflection blue heart takeoff, which means it's very possible that Gooms delayed this enough to get into 1B.
Yeah,
So
it is
Marlon
100%.
obviously can't see Gooms' screen, so he doesn't know where Gooms is when he takes something off, right?
It's 100% possible that Marlon is just evaluating 1B as too risky right now. And it does look like he's a little bit indecisive. Oh, but he goes into 1B a little late. And
But after seeing this 5 binos and B-sides take off, I feel like you quit out, right?
I don't know. I would. But Marlon might just be going for broke and thinking that Gooms might be quitting out of 1B or whatever chapter after the first bino.
Oh, and trying to call his bluff?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Gooms is moving to finish the chapter here.
Yeah, I think that's just so obviously when you're behind in bingo, you do have to take some kinds of gambles. I don't think this is the gamble that he should be taking because Gooms basically is just purely trying to aggressively grab objectives right now. And the fastest objective for Gooms to get after getting 5 binos and B-sides, wherever he got it, is going to be to complete that B-side.
Yeah. If Marlon had gone into 1B a little bit earlier, it would have been a much more compelling play. But unfortunately, the small amount of indecisiveness definitely cost him the race.
Yeah, he wanted to go into farewell, which is understandable, honestly. There are some things that you can do there. You do have 1 key in power source and reach event horizon, and getting that progress might be a way to trick Gooms into thinking. So reach event horizon is a long objective. It's one of the longest objectives that we have in the game, and that means that it can be seen as a safe objective to finish out your 13 because your opponent can't afford to full commit to it. And so it's possible that Marlon was making this consideration and trying to sorry, what am I trying to say? Trying to get a progress lead towards reach event horizon so that if Gooms went there for his final objective, Marlon could make some interesting counterplay.
Yeah, it's just setting
And there
up
is
for a
1
bit
key
of-
in source as well, so.
Yes.
Yeah. 1 key is the thing that you would get to signal farewell progress, and then you could reasonably leave event horizon because your opponent would know that you have farewell progress. Gooms going out of his way to get blue hearts or 6 hearts. Does a few more berries in shrine to set up for all collectibles in 4A. But Gooms has just a lot of progress to a lot of things, and Marlon, currently in Summit, is not contesting any of them.
Yeah, unfortunately at this point, it's looking kind of bleak for Marlon. I definitely think there were opportunities back into this game, but it was very hard on this board to identify those opportunities. I think the objectives were generally very spread across chapters, so once Gooms had this objective advantage, it's really hard for Marlon to make the reads necessary to consistently lock out Gooms' objectives.
Yeah. Like, theoretically, it would be possible to win from 12 to nothing if you just lock out your opponent from everything, but the chances of that are so low.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
incredibly
just
hard
about-
while you're playing to figure out what you need to be doing. We obviously
Yeah.
could see both players in the, when you're playing and you're just yourself, it can be really hard to know. Oh, were they delaying? Did they actually just complete that? And it's so hard.
It's hard enough knowing what you're doing. It's really, really difficult to know what your opponent's doing.
So I saw someone in chat say that Gooms should be going to farewell to get to 13 here, and I disagree for multiple reasons. But the main thing that makes it so that Gooms can't really make that decision is that Marlon just ticked off Grabless Search, but before that, Marlon hadn't ticked anything off in 6 minutes. So Gooms has a lack of information, and because Farewell appears to be an obvious win condition and is not necessarily a safe objective with that 6-minute question mark, Gooms can't reliably go for that. What he can go for is all berries and hot and cold, which he ticks off right there, because again, that one's gated behind 4 hearts, and it was unlikely that Marlon had 4 hearts with Gooms having signaled a significant amount of progress towards the heart objectives on the board.
Yep. And just game update, Gooms did complete all berries and hot and cold, has moved into reflection for Grappler's Hollows, and Marlon not contesting this because he is in Farewell, neatly illustrating why it's risky for Gooms to go to Farewell, and playing unpredictably is a bit safer.
So finding the safe objectives to complete your win condition is definitely a pretty challenging aspect of bingo routing. I think you can pretty neatly classify routing into early game, mid game, and late game. I would say overall the mid game tends to be the most complex, where with the early game there generally tends to be pretty clear trade-offs between progress and objectives, and oftentimes you lean towards progress over objectives due to the ability to gain more later. And then mid-game, you have a balance where you kind of have to do that back and forth that we were talking about, where Marlon had to go back and get objectives to make sure that Gooms didn't have a win condition that didn't involve progress, for example. And then in late game, it simplifies slightly because you have access to pretty much everything on the board, and so it just comes down to making the right calls at the right times.
Yeah, when it comes to early game, the most important thing is progress. For mid game, it's setting up your route, and for late game, it's synergy.
That's not to say that any of these are simple things.
Yeah.
I think late game is incredibly complex. It's just that mid game is even more complex, you know?
Yeah. All right.
And that's
Gooms,
why, like, you just got to play a bunch of matches. That's really the only way to improve, is to just get in all these different scenarios and figure out what to do.
Yeah.
With that tick off, by the way, of Grabless Hollows, Gooms has reached 13. And so Gooms takes our first game, and we'll be advancing in the bracket.
GGs.
And we'll be saying goodbye to Marlon.
Yeah, and this match was awesome. It was a really good showcase of everything that Lockout is and has to offer. And stick around for the next one.
Before we head out, just want to remind everyone to please, follow the runners that we've been seeing. I've been putting the links in chat, and if you enjoy bingo, you can also follow the Celeste Community Twitch channel, where we host a ton of these matches. But we're gonna go to a short break, and we'll see you all in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome back from our first break. We had an amazing match one with Marlon and Gooms. Gooms taking the victory here and moving on to the semifinals of our bingo tournament. And up next we have a match with Nikki and Talia, two another amazing Celeste players. And if this is your first time seeing bingo, you can do !lockout to see how all the rules work. We have custom progression. It's a really amazing way to play Celeste. You can also do !bracket to see all the matches we have going on today and tomorrow. Before we get back to our next match, I just want to remind everyone that the Games Done Quick Highlights is a channel that features highlights of our GDQ Hotfix shows. So you can do !highlights command in chat to learn more about the highlights. So you can basically see snippets of all the awesome things that are going on Hotfix without having to watch the entire VOD. But if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to come on over to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in watching our live contents, which starts weeknights at 7 and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have so many shows going on, amazing showrunners, fantastic themes. You can also go on the website gamesdonequick.com/hotfix to see the list of all of our shows. If you want to submit any of your speedruns to any of them, you can do that there. But with that, I believe we're pretty much ready to get going with our second match of the day, which I said was Nikki and Talia. And Akko and Crab, our two commentators, are here again for this match. Y'all ready for another awesome bingo match?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. Do you want to do a little brief recap of the goals of this kind of bingo? Just, for anyone who came in during that last match?
Yeah, sure. So this bingo format is called Lockout. In a minute on screen, you'll see a bingo board of 25 objectives, 5x5. And the goal is first to a majority, which happens to be 13. We're not really concerned about getting 1 line or 3 lines or a bingo or anything like that. It really is just first to 13. The lockout part comes in when if you tick off an objective, your opponent is no longer allowed to tick it off. So that's where a lot of the strategy comes in.
Awesome. Sounds great. And we'll be getting the colors up on stream of who each player is. Nikki's going to be in pink and Talia's going to be in purple. But yeah, with that, are our players ready for us to get rolling?
Yes, the players are indeed ready.
Sweet. Then let's get going with our second match of the day.
All right. Akko, you'll be counting us off.
Yeah, I can go ahead and give us a countdown. All right, and we will be going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So this board, a good one. We have. Okay. So on the board in early game, I see all berries in start of 1A, Grabless 1A, Old Site Cassette, and Read the Poem in 2A. Those are all objectives that you can go for first pass with minimal time loss. They also, with the exception of Grabless 1A, synergize with other objectives on the board.
Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of the Old Site Cassette and Complete 2 B-side synergy here. But with the poem in 2A being on the board, it's very likely going to be a trade. What I'm immediately seeing is that I would like someone to just grab cassette, like beeline to the Old Site Cassette, and then go into 2B, because their opponent is going to see that as an objective trade for Read the Poem in 2A, and then you can potentially get Mirror Temple Cassette and get that Complete 2B side as well. However, There is a lot of A-side synergy here as well, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so the A-side synergy on the board that I'm looking at, particularly for late game, is 5 berries and 4 chapters, and complete 3 A-sides, which definitely means that you could do those pretty easily first pass if you opt to play A-sides. Also worth mentioning, Find Theo's Phone in 5A, which is a progress gate, essentially, for who's the first person to enter the Mirror Temple.
Mm-hmm. That said, let's see what both players are going for at the start.
Yep, so it looks like, let's see, Boss Nikki has opted to go for Grabless 1A, turned on Grabless at the very start. Both players also grabbed the first Winged Berry in the chapter, setting up for 8 Winged Berries later.
Yeah, but it's worth noting that neither of them elected to complete all berries in start of 1A, which I think is a reasonable assessment on this board.
Yeah, even if you don't get all berries in start of 1A, it's possible and indeed very fast to get 5 berries in 1A first pass. And Boss actually going for a very difficult strat to get that last berry crossing to get to 5. So it is worth mentioning that Nikki going for Grabless and 5 berries is behind in progress to Talia. Talia will be entering the chapter 2 slightly before.
But Talia also does not have any indication of Boss being behind because neither of these things. Oh, never mind. Now we have it because the grabless 1A tick-off comes out instantly, which I think is somewhat reasonable, but I also don't think I would expect Talia to go for grabless 1A on the first pass.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't generally expect my opponent to, and I also don't know what Talia's specific comfort level with grabless is.
This is true. Although with Nikki in particular, she is known for having very unconventional routes, which means that I wouldn't really assume anything versus Nikki.
And when we say
Talia.
unconventional, I just want to note, again, these are some of the best bingo players that we, like, this is the top tier of bingo that we have. It's unconventional in a way that throws your opponent off and wins you games if you're Nikki.
Yeah. There's definitely a bingo meta that exists, and pushing back against that meta is a really easy way to catch opponents off guard. So you did see Nikki go down, moving to grab the old site cassette, but sees that Talia ticked off, and chose to just continue in the A side, which happened to be a good idea since Nikki is now ahead in progress by about a room.
Yeah, I definitely see the reasoning here from both players, right? Nikki makes it to the point where she could go grab the cassette and sees that it's not ticked off and figures, oh, maybe Talia didn't go for it, but Talia ticks it off at a really good time to kind of lose a little bit of progress for Nikki. But unfortunately, fortunately for Talia, she manages to take a slight progress advantage here.
Yeah.
And potentially gets the advantage towards read the poem. If she goes for it, she's not going
Doesn't
for
look
it.
like she is, yeah. But
Interesting.
Boss is not either, because Boss may realize that there was some progress lost at the end of intervention there, which means that she may just be pushing progress as hard as possible. Talia
I'm just surprised to see
skipping 3A.
neither player go back for it.
Yeah. It'll just be something that they will go for eventually. So both players
Yeah.
skipping 3A. This makes a lot of sense because there's like nothing in that chapter. There's some Pico
Yeah.
objectives.
It's kind of surprising because our generator is designed around. So these objectives are manually like created. We've created and tiered and curated everything for the bingo generator, and the ideal in the bingo generator is for it to be able to facilitate a wide range of routes on most boards. But some boards tend to be more favoring one direction or the other. In this case, I would say this is a pretty progress-heavy board, partially because of that lack of 3A, and also because there's some interesting objectives at the end here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when or how we're going to see these, but we do have 2,000 meter and 2,500 meter gems, which are late summit objectives. And we also have 5 binoculars in the summit, which is again a mid-summit objective. And then we have visit bird's nest in epilogue, which means you have to complete summit or skip summit, assist skip summit, which is very unlikely that you see anyone ever do, especially on a board like this where you're pretty much required to skip 3A. We did see both players skip it, so they do not have their skip to
Bird's
skip
nest and
after
epilogue.
summit.
Yeah, Bird's Nest and Epilogue is notorious for being the longest objective. I do want to point out, before we get into Summit, Temple A-side is very strong, which is not something you see super often. There is Sunseekers 20 times, Talk to Theo in Search, All Berries in Unraveling, Mirror Temple Cassette, All Berries in Search, and Grabless 5A. So I would assume that
Also Theophone, but that's more of a progress check from 4A.
yes, that is true. But I would expect both players to be pushing 5A pretty hard. Now, Boss did actually take the progression advantage again because Talia is struggling with this Ultra here.
Yeah, this is a strat we call second blockless because there are 2 parts in 4A that have notable blockless strats, and that is a pretty difficult trick to pull off. I believe it's 2 frame perfect inputs with the setup that Talia was doing, but she was pause buffering it, so did have an opportunity to take advantage of the buffer window in Celeste.
Yeah, not gonna really explain how pause buffering works here, but it does make it easier.
It's outside the scope of this discussion, we'll say. But yeah, you'll see that we only have 2 objectives ticked off, despite being about 8 to 10 minutes into this game.
Yeah.
Which
Nikki will
is
tick off another.
not too surprising. I think the mid game we'll see a lot of things happen in quick succession. We do have complete 3 A sides getting locked out by Nikki. And yeah, so complete 3 A sides and Theo's phone in 5A being placed next to each other heavily incentivizes you to finish 1A, 2A, and 4A. You'll see that we're at Theo's phone right now. It's at the very beginning of 5A, so it further incentivizes that progress route, 1A, 2A, 4A.
Yeah. So what I mean by progress check in that sense means that the first person to get to it basically just goes for it 100% of the time, since it loses very little progress and the only requirement is being in the chapter.
Yeah, it's basically an objective that rewards you for playing for progress and not playing for objectives.
It's pretty amazing how synced the players are right now, by the way. It's really fun seeing them in the same spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting that we're seeing this. I was saying in the beginning that I expected that route divergence of one player going for that B-side synergy while the other player took advantage of the late 2A objective and combined that into 3A sides and Theo's phone.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is that both players kept trading the progress lead between themselves, and I think they were probably aware of this, at least coming out of 2A. They were probably aware of this.
Very big thing that just happened though. Boss went for the Winged Berry in Mirror Temple, which means that Boss actually lost the race to Mirror Temple cassette. Although Talia looks like she is putting out and playing the B side, which means that she won't have access to all of the 5A stuff.
Definitely an interesting choice. I do think there's plenty of stuff to justify this. I think you still have access to stun seekers 20 times, and possibly could get there before Nikki. And of course, we do have the complete 2 B sides that I had mentioned earlier. And since you're already incentivized to grab the cassette because of the objective on the board, it makes it so that this loses even less time. Or to be clear, playing 5B gains time, but playing 5A gains objectives.
Yeah.
And in this situation, there's definitely a lot of stuff that, like as we mentioned, there's stuff in late summit, and there's other late game objectives that can be collected. For example, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Reflection Blue Heart play after this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that racing 5A would probably be worth it for the potential of splitting objectives, because like even though you gain time by playing 5B, there isn't a ton that you'd be playing for past Summit, at least right now. So the fact that Nikki is going to be totally uncontested for all of the 5A objectives is pretty huge for her, especially since she already has an objective advantage.
That's definitely true. My question is, once you hard commit to all these 5A objectives, where do you go? So you have...
Yeah,
Ooh,
why don't you
that is
do that?
nice. Okay, so before I say that, I do want to note that Nikki just ticked off 5 berries in 4 chapters at the same time as collecting the Unraveling Berry, which is a nice synergy to see come together.
And it looks like
Obviously,
Boss is
this
going
is
to
the
win
fourth
Stone
chapter.
Seekers 20 times as well.
Yes. But so Nikki's hard committing to Stone Seekers 20 times, which means that she will win it, like just period. Unless she chooses to delay it for some odd reason, but she has no information on where Talia is right now, and so she's heavily incentivized to just tick it off right now. With that said, what was the thing that we were talking about before we got interrupted by their berry
Oh,
picking?
yeah. Where is Boss going to go after hard committing to 5A objectives? And this is an interesting question because Boss is not actually committing to 5A objectives currently. Instead,
Nikki's going back.
Yeah, she's going to grab some of the miscellaneous objectives in the early game that they left. Maybe Alberry start of 1A and read the poem in 2A.
It's an interesting choice. I think it's like it looks correct from our perspective, but I don't know how she has the information to say that she should be doing this, you know? I feel like the rest of the 5A objectives are strong enough that you have this question mark that you want to, you know, you just want to do it and get over it.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, it is a pretty important distinction there. Something else I saw, what's the difference between committing and hard committing? This is actually like a pretty subjective line, but it is pretty important to like think about. So by unlocking Unraveling, Nikki is saying, okay, I've put some resources into this chapter, and I expect that I'll come back to collect. And hard committing would be just doing them immediately to avoid any risk of losing them.
Right, but by signaling the progress in 5A, by ticking off the Unraveling Berry, she kind of tells Talia, these are my objectives, back off, you know?
Yeah.
And so she doesn't have to necessarily go for the objectives right away, because Talia will be thinking, if I go there now, I will be behind towards those objectives. Nikki will have a progress lead over me towards those objectives, a progress lead within the chapter, mind you. And so it's hard for Talia to then commit and go for it. But again, Nikki doesn't know for certain that Talia wasn't directly behind her just getting locked out. And it's very, so once Talia is in 5A, like in this hypothetical situation that Talia was directly behind Nikki and lost all berries in Unraveling, for example, Talia's best option would be to just hard commit at that point, because going back and playing 5B is not going to gain you objectives right away, and it's not going to be significantly faster. So in that situation, you just want to finish 5A so that you have access to more of the board, access to the objectives that are in the late game.
Yeah. So it really just comes down to signaling what objectives you want to have, and then up to the opponent to say, okay, I respect that and I won't go for it because I think it's too risky, or I'm calling your bluff and I will go for them and try to steal them from you.
Yeah, with that said, this is something that I say often. It's something I try to teach people, and it's something I mentioned in the last game. You generally don't want to play around the idea that you are locking out your opponent.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is locking out your opponent is already a massive advantage in and of itself. So if that happens, you kind of want to be hedging your bets, because if your opponent full commits to the thing that was after the thing that you hypothetically locked out, in that situation, they still had to commit a lot just to get not that much synergy, and you can still take advantage of that time to do other things. So it's it definitely is like you do lose something if you don't play around the lockout, and it turns out it was a lockout, because obviously you're playing with false information for a while, but it's still like the higher percentage play if you think about it like that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nikki is in Resort trying to contest the huge mess order, perhaps Pico 8 objectives and 5 blue hearts. Meanwhile, Talia is pursuing the summit for 5 binoculars in the summit and the much later stuff. Also, 8 winged berries.
I think this makes sense from both players. I think I like Nikki's game plan a bit better, but to be fair, she's allowed more freedom because she's ahead in objectives. At this point, she's unsure what Talia is doing, and Talia has also signaled previously doing miscellaneous objectives, like going back for reading the poem and getting the blue heart, which doesn't really synergize with anything other than 5 blue hearts on the board. And so as a result, Nikki can make the reasonable decision to go pick up miscellaneous objectives because it works out well for her own win condition, because she's in a mode where she's just trying to gain objectives, but it also potentially blocks Talia from sweeping up these while Nikki does something else.
Yeah, and actually now Nikki has very good information in the time that it took you to say that sentence, because Talia has ticked off use 5 binoculars in the summit, which means that Nikki knows that Pico 8 is pretty much uncontested now.
Well, hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
Because it is not being contested.
For about 30 seconds there was a window in which Nikki would have been like, okay, Talia is in summit and Pico is uncontested right now, but at the same time, Pico 8 is something that you can't save your progress towards, so it's often like a good idea to just commit to it once you've already made a decent amount of progress into Pico 8.
And 15 berries in Pico 8 is long. Like, it is long. So Talia has a chance to try to steal the huge mess order if she chooses to contest that.
It's very possible, though, that Nikki is just going to get Pico 8 and just quit out, because your goal as the player that's ahead in objectives in the mid game is to just make sure you don't leave an option for your opponent to get back in the game. You eliminate synergies and you make it so that your opponent has to commit harder for objectives and spend more time getting single objectives. So if she finishes Pico 8 and then quits out, Talia might commit for the huge mess order, and then Nikki can go eliminate a synergy elsewhere and further make it challenging for Talia to make it back in the game.
Yep. So Nikki ticks off get 10 berries in Pico 8.
Wait, I didn't even notice there was 10 and 15.
Yeah.
This is high value.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely worth it to do this.
Mm-hmm. It is worth mentioning, though, that Nikki ticked it off right as Talia was outside the entrance to Pico 8. So Talia was able to make the decision to just go straight into huge mess.
I think Nikki had the opportunity to wait a little bit with it, considering the timing of the 5 binos in Summit Takeoff, but she might not have been confident in the execution, in her own execution in Pico, and thought there's potential for Talia to make it up, or there's a possibility that she thought that Talia could have delayed 5 binos in the Summit, but I don't think that assumption is reasonable, considering that Talia had not seen a tick off from Nikki in several minutes before taking off 5 binos in Summit.
Yeah, and so Boss actually opts to continue in huge mess, which means that Talia has the upper hand here.
This is surprising to me. I understand why you would want to do this, because you could be thinking I'm far enough ahead where my goal right now is to just collect objectives, right? And
Yeah.
it's decently true. Nikki is at 9 objectives, so just collecting objectives right now is the highest value thing she can do. That said, again, still eliminating those synergies is valuable, and it's like you have this big question mark where Talia hasn't ticked off anything in a good 5 minutes after ticking off use by 5 binos in the summit, and sure enough, we see that huge mess order get ticked off.
Yeah, there's
So-
the tick.
Yeah.
I think Nikki was in a situation of not knowing where Talia was, and it was Talia got really lucky on the Pico tick because then she was just able to take that mess objective. So it all kind of just wildly worked out.
Right.
Yes, but before we get too optimistic for Talia, I would like to point out that Boss has a win con in getting this blue heart here for 5 blue hearts, and then following that up with late 5A. Because that gets her
With
to
the late
13.
5i objective.
Yeah, there is Talk to Theo and Search, Grabless 5A, All Berries and Search.
Oh, wow. How many blue hearts
And-
does Nikki
yeah.
have?
4, I think.
And Nikki's made progress on Grabless 5A as well.
Yes. Yep.
So that's that's something people might not understand is you don't have to do that all in one go. You can do it by objective. So there is some progress towards Grabless 5A on Nikki's side, and that's what she's going back to do right now. Is
Yep.
more of it.
And Talia makes the absolute correct decision to go straight into 5A after getting locked out of 5 blue hearts. Unfortunately, she is a checkpoint behind, which
But
means
she's
that
not playing Grabless. So
Yeah, she's
there's
not playing
potential
Grabless.
to make up time.
and between
Nikki's Grabless execution's been really good though. Like
Yeah.
earlier, she got Depth's corner boost Grabless.
True. But between Berries and Search and Talk to Theo and Search, Talia definitely has the potential to take one of them if she picks right.
Yeah, I would go for Theo in Search. I mean, I would beeline for Theo in Search and pray.
Yeah, I would too.
I don't know. I guess there's an argument to be made because Nikki is almost certainly going to talk to Theo in Search before starting to collect the berries, right? So if you start going for the berries right away, you can potentially execution check.
Yes, against any other player, I would think that's a reasonable assumption to make, but playing against Voss, I would not make that assumption.
That's true. That's fair. With that said, I do want to say I said the words execution check, and to be clear, what I mean by that is you are playing the game like literally playing the game like speedrunning better than your opponent and executing the same movement better in order to make up a time disadvantage.
So Boss does skip getting Talk to Theo and Search, turns off Grabless, and starts doing Search Arm.
Wow, you really called it. It's literally exactly what we're saying. Oh my goodness. The question is, can Talia get there in time? And so, regarding what we were saying earlier with this win condition, there's one more interesting aspect of the game that's not just about your early, mid, and late routing, and that's the boundary conditions, which is to say, when do you transition from mid game to late game?
Yeah.
And so Nikki identified it as earlier than I did, but then Crab pointed out to me that there's this really appealing win condition in 5A. So it makes sense. It's a play that makes sense. It does bank on Talia not going to 5A any sooner than she did. If Talia went to 5A slightly sooner, she maybe wins this. If she goes to 5A instead of committing to huge mess after seeing the Pico tick-offs.
Yeah.
But that's a hard call to make on Talia's end.
By the way, I really, really like this routing from Boss, getting the 5 berries from the Search Hub room, talking to Theo and Search, and then getting the last berry.
And then getting the last one.
Yep.
Yeah, at
Yeah, that was
point-
nice. Nice. Ticking them both off.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
So I can at this point Nikki is at 12 objectives, right? So
Yeah.
she only needs to get any one-off objective in order to win the game. And so there's various ways you can play this. Your goal is basically to pick the safest objective and guarantee it. Though there are other ways that you can guarantee it even harder than that, which is to multitask. Because in Celeste, we have a very, very nice checkpoint system, and we can take advantage of that for various things. So something like Reach Event Horizon, which is a checkpoint in Farewell, you can do only, like, you can do it in chunks by doing one checkpoint at a time. And since Nikki also has progress towards Graveless 5A, she would be able to multitask the two, or if she gets locked out of Event Horizon, she could just go back to 5A and finish that, because she knows that all that time spent doing Event Horizon is time that Talia hasn't been using to catch up on Graveless 5A, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it is also worth mentioning what
what
what's
Nikki's
going
trying to do
on
right
the
now.
left side of the screen. So most of the time we won't talk about strats, but this one is a pretty important one. It's a glitch that exists in Farewell, where if you jump while entering the cutscene in a specific way, the game forgets how to apply gravity to you, and you can go up through the part of the story sequence where you have 2 dashes. And
There it is.
by skipping that trigger there near the bird, you can maintain your 2 dashes inside the main chapter of Farewell. So,
I love seeing the dash trigger skip in Bingo.
So-
This is incredible.
yeah.
Yeah, you're meant to have only 1 dash here, and we're able to keep 2 dashes from the start of the chapter up until, I believe, Stubbornness, which is close to, it's like about 2/3 of the way into the chapter, I would say.
It is further than Bingo goes in Farewell.
Yes. Yeah. So you can keep the 2 dashes the entire time. It's definitely a significant time advantage, and it makes things safer if you can get it. So
Yeah.
obviously, even in Bingo, you have a question of the trade-offs of safe strats versus aggressive strats, and DTS lets you do more aggressive strats and do them more safely. So
Yeah.
it's a nice thing
Although-
to have in your pocket.
There is even a question of time investment for pulling off DTS, because
Yes.
if you fail, you lose 20 seconds if you restart the chapter, and about like 5 to 10 seconds if you don't. So
And there's also another consideration to be made, which is that if you quit out of the chapter after completing DTS, if you get to a checkpoint and then you leave, you return to map to go to a different chapter and come back, you don't retain your 2 dash state. So it's not good if you're planning to multitask. But again, like I said, Nikki has the ability to full commit to this and then only go back to 5A if this gets ticked off.
Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting routing decisions that are born of DTS, dash trigger skip.
I think this game is a bit misleading, like in terms of the score line. We have 12-6 on the board, but I don't think that I think it was quite close. I mean, the same with the previous match. There were a lot of moments where they could have turned the game. When I say they, I mean Marlon and Talia in both games.
Yeah. It's definitely worth emphasizing that the score rarely shows how close the game was. Mm-hmm. It could have been 13-2 or 13-12, and the person who got 12 really had no chance, or perhaps 13-6, where it was very close.
Yeah, it's hard to describe exactly how that works unless you're like familiar with how the routing works, which I hope that we've been able to make you at least somewhat familiar with what's going on here during these 2 matches. But
yeah,
there's a lot of points where there was just unfortunate timing between the 2 players here, and a lot of moments where there were decisions made where they don't have perfect information, and I can see how it would be a reasonable decision. And there were times where I would even argue that the correct decisions were made, but where they just got unlucky in some cases.
There's just a lot of positioning that goes into Lockout, by which I mean there's a lot of thought that goes into where you are at any given time in relation to your opponent. And if you guess wrong or make an incorrect assumption, that can really snowball in terms of losing objectives.
Absolutely. We didn't really see it today because both players who were ahead in objectives in the mid game ended up being in a significant lead by the late game. But there are a significant, I would say a large number of instances where the player who is ahead in objectives in mid game tends to be behind when we get to late game, and we will be able to identify that in real time as the mid game plays out. And I think it'll be very cool if we get to see one of those on stream during this bracket.
Yeah, those definitely tend to be like the swingiest games in terms of objectives, at least.
I mean, and those games are the ones that are also the most volatile in terms of outcomes. Like, not just swingy in terms of where the objectives are going, but it's one of those cases where a single objective going the other way might have changed the outcome of the game. I mean, it's still the case for these two games, to be clear. There were a couple points where I think a single objective could have completely changed the decision making of both of these players. I mean, again, the 5A stuff and the timing of it was really unfortunate for Talia. And I think it could have been huge.
Yeah. All that I think you mean is these games, despite there being a huge amount of creativity going into these routes, are still mostly quote-unquote textbook. Like, every player so far has skipped chapter 3 or 5. And
I can't wait for us to see some more unconventional stuff. I'm sure we're going to see at least one crazy skip.
Yeah. So
any city skip enjoyers?
City skip enjoyers right here. But
you can't really point to like one specific thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, these deaths from Nikki hurt.
Yeah. Nikki, though, is just one room away from completing the objective because the checkpoint is in the very next room, Event Horizon.
Yeah, and this is part of the way that strategy in Lockout is just so much more important than straight execution.
And there we go, that's GG.
GG!
GG.
Oh, maybe I said it too early. I'm spoilers. Sorry.
No, you're good. we got GGs in the chat. Really great matches between the two. Those you could see. The first match had a lot more route divergences, so then here we had, times where they were in the same chapter doing the same things, which was really cool to see. And then the late divergence and mirror. So we're already seeing a lot of different stuff going on, but hopefully everyone's following along with how the format works. But continue to ask questions. We're happy to answer. Anything y'all want to say to wrap up this match?
I did want to say these games, so we were talking about how there are other games that can be more volatile in different ways that are more apparent to a viewer, but this game was also very volatile because when you have a game where two players follow the same early game route, it's either a situation where they're constantly trading objectives or one person collects nearly everything and makes it really challenging for the other player to make it back in the mid game. In this case, again, we did have that moment with complete 3 A sides and find Theo's phone in 5A, where it was just a pure execution race for that. And if that had gone differently, it opens up the board a lot more for Talia. And it's just a question of who happens to execute better on the day.
Yep. So yeah, this was a lot of fun to commentate. These were two really awesome matches. And we do have Gooms and Nikki moving on to the semifinals tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun getting to see these two players face off.
Yep. And
with that, I think these are the last two matches y'all are commentating today, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Crab and I are going to be signing off for now. Thanks for having us, and we'll be on tomorrow at different times.
Yeah, I will be same time.
I'll be here for finals.
Yep.
Thank you both so much. I know chat's been saying, y'all have been doing a great job explaining everything, and I'm sure they'll still be in the chat to answer questions. We have plenty of awesome community members who are doing that. So we have 2 more bingo matches today. So if you've been enjoying, be sure to stick around. You can do !bracket to see the remainder of the matches we're going to have today and tomorrow. Tomorrow, you're going to get to see Gooms and Nikki face off, which will be fantastic. You can also do !lockout to get a reminder of how the rules work. But we're going to go on a short break as we set up the next match. So get some water, stretch, and get ready for some more bingo in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome back to our Celeste Expert Lockout Bingo tournament. We just finished the second of our 4 matches for the day. So we have 2 more coming up. You can see all the matches that we have today and tomorrow at !bracket. See all the wonderful players you're going to be seeing. We have our next match, which is going to be Vapo versus Under Tempo. But before we get into that, I do have a handful of announcements. I got to say that GDQ Hotfix is supported in part thanks to your subscriptions and bits. So we'd appreciate if you consider subscribing to support our future content here on this channel. And of course, I want to talk that Flame Fatales will be happening August 21st to 27th. Very excited for that. You can see the schedule at gamesdonequick.com/schedule or type FF in chat for more information. That's going to be awesome. We do have a few Celeste runs in that marathon as well, if you enjoyed this video game like I do. And as we were talking about earlier, we have a swap out of commentators, so I'll allow our new commentators to introduce themselves. We have LMJax and TrueGen. How are the two of you doing today? You want to say hi?
Hello, I'm TrueGen.
Hi there, I'm Jax. I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Yes. Hopefully this match is good.
It's going to be great. I'm super excited about it. Do y'all want to just do a brief overview of what Lockout Bingo is for someone who has never seen it before, just joined the stream? What are we going to be seeing?
Yeah, sure. So typically with Celeste speedruns, you would see players moving pretty linear throughout the game, but we will not be having that here today. Instead, we will have a board with 25 objectives for them to get, and the goal, each player's goal will be to get 13 of those objectives. And once an objective is ticked off, the other player cannot get it. So it's essentially sort of like a best of 25 objectives, if you want to think about it that way. But yeah, do you want to explain our progression rules, TrueGen?
Sure. So basically, you can skip any chapter you want. You're going to skip one chapter though. So if you ever unlock Temple, you also unlock Farewell. Chapter 8, the core, is always unlocked, but since you do need 4 hearts to get into the chapter, that is still in place. You need 4 hearts to get into core. So, if you ever unlock Reflection, you also unlock Sight. That's just to make late game chapters more viable in this format, basically.
Yeah. So we have a lot of custom progression rules so that players can pick and choose where they want to go, and that makes the matches more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the gimmick of the vanilla game, where if you clear a B side, you'll unlock the next A side, is still active here. So sometimes you'll see some wild plays like going to 2B instead of clearing all of 2A, because that'll get you progress towards some objectives and unlock Resort. So it's really fun. I love the route divergences we get to see thanks to the custom progression.
It's cool.
Are our players ready for our third match
know.
today? We can check in on them.
I'll spam R in the chat room. There we go.
The classic. And of course, if anyone has questions, people in chat or ourselves are happy to answer. That's our job. We want to make sure everyone here is understanding what's going on.
Alrighty, we'll be getting going very shortly here in 3, 2, 1, go.
Fantastic. I will reveal the card for everyone. Yay.
Good.
Alrighty, so as was mentioned near the end of the last game, you can typically split up a bingo match into 3 portions. So you'll have early game, mid game, and late game. Early game will be all the objectives that you can find really early or do in pretty quickly in chapters. So on this board, I see Forsaken City B-side, Forsaken City Blue Heart, 5 berries in 3 chapters, and Old Site Cassette. Those are the first things that pop out to me. And then once we get a little bit further into the game, players will have more options. So I'm not sure how I would start on this board. What would you be looking at first, Trujan?
There's not really a lot early. The thing, there's like Old Site Cassette. Probably Old Site Cassette is pretty good. The Blue Heart takes a while, so probably wouldn't go after that. Yeah, it's not a lot early, to be honest. Probably just maybe 2B, so any heart stuff on the board. And so yeah, we probably won't be seeing anything until start of Resort, see if players play Resort or skip to Ridge.
Yeah, typically, so one other big thing, one other routing concern is that you want to balance how many objectives you're getting and what progress you're getting. So with a lot of objectives in late game on this board, I see like 4 gems in Summit, 5 gems in Summit, Grabless Lake. It was more. 8 winged berries typically requires Summit access. Berries in 2,500 meters. So you see a lot of these late objectives. You need to get to the chapters where they are to be able to do them. So falling behind, So falling behind early can be pretty bad because you don't have access to those objectives. However, it looks like we are seeing both players go for some early berries here, which I think makes a lot of sense. 5 berries in 3 chapters is a quick objective, much faster than, for instance, Forsaken City Blue Heart.
Yeah, Blue Heart is definitely a comeback to that kind of opportunity.
Yeah,
I wonder what... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's not really much to talk about until we see what players are going to do. In regards to Resort, really. There's not a lot of quick stuff, fortunately.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what chapters these players skip. 3A is, I would say, the default skip because it's a very long chapter and early access to Ridge and Temple can be good. On this board, we, however, do see a fair amount of objectives in 3A. We see Celestial Resort B-side, 10 berries in 3A, all berries in Presidential Suite.
There's 15 in 2 and 5 in 3, which time in 3A does workable.
Yeah, that's some nice synergy. But it looks like we see Vapo a little bit ahead into 2A, which likely means he will be getting the Old Site Cassette objective.
Huge hopes. Guess we'll see. Yeah, there's actually quite a bit in 3A. There's like 3 berry things. Grabless Elevator Shaft, Resort B-side. There's a lot. There's also 8 winged berries and a winged golden berry. For those that don't know, the winged golden berry for completing a 1A dash list does count as a winged berry. So there's potential to see that. We probably won't see that, but it is a thing. So.
Yeah, I think there's enough late game to incentivize players to just get to Summit anyway.
Yeah.
And typically you only see that if players are like only making it to depths or something in Temple. I also do see in column 4, row 5, the Summit B side. So if this ends up going to a tiebreaker situation for the last objective, we might be here for some content.
The Summit B side on the board as well, so. Summit B side and wing golden.
For now, we see both players electing to skip the Old Site Cassette, which surprises me.
I'm surprised too.
Potentially, Vapo thought they were behind in execution when they actually weren't. And we see Vapo about 20 seconds ahead right now, it looks like.
I mean, I guess that's something you could consider just popping back for. I mean,
it's a pretty long cassette to come back for because you've got to go do like the mirror cutscene and then come back.
I know. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Did Tempo stop to get berries in 1A or something?
They both got a
Tempo's
few berries in
10,
1A.
But
Yeah. So they're maybe both setting up for 5 berries in 3 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of berry stuff, so I could see skipping this potentially. I think that makes some degree of sense.
I mean, with nothing ticked off, Like, they don't know
Yeah.
how ahead or behind they are.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part of there being nothing early, is you really don't know.
Yeah, Vapor does
see
skip
what-
resort.
Yep, headed into Ridge. I think that's a decent play. There's a fair bit in Temple. We see blue and red heart in Temple get the key in depths, which contributes towards that blue heart there. 4 blue hearts, which is some synergy actually for also getting the 1A heart. What else? Complete Shrine without dashing. Vapo was ahead for, because that's here in this chapter. Yeah, there's a lot in this late mid-game, sort of, so I definitely understand the resort skip. Tempo also making that play, unfortunately just still staying behind Vapo here. We'll see what they can snag from these mid-chapters.
Vapor with 5 basic chapters. Okay. It does disincentivize Tempo from going progressive. Tempo quits out, okay. Where are you going?
Ah, the 1A heart. I
1A
like that
heart.
play.
Okay. Like after this, though. Looks like
Back
set,
into
maybe.
4A. Oh, maybe, yeah.
Going and just picking up some early objective stuff. I don't hate it.
Nice. I could see this.
It's one of those things where if you're
Shrine without
stuck,
dashing.
if you're stuck not knowing what to do, doing something is always better than
Yeah.
doing nothing. So like genuinely, like, you know what? While I think about what I'm doing, let me go back and get something. I think
That's like far too many times where we've seen someone just sit on the menu screen for like 30 seconds. It's like, please do something.
exactly,
Like,
and you won't see that in expert gameplay, but it's definitely something that does happen. So it's
Like
give
it-
you
like
some
e-
time to think.
yeah, even if you have to go out something, doing something is always better than not doing anything. Good.
Yeah, the thing I liked about that play Tempo made is that 5 berries in 3 chapters does not necessarily tell you where Vapo is.
Yeah.
Vapo could have been either in 3A or 4A, and if they're in 4A, you're already behind for Shrine Without Dashing. If they're in 3A, then you don't need to worry about getting there immediately. So regardless, it's a good play to quit out and get that Forsaken City Blue Heart. Because at this point, it's pretty high priority.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's very correct. There's also 4 blue hearts on the board, so
Yep,
Well,
that's some
it's
decent
also-
synergy for that heart.
very nice.
We also do see Switch to Ice on the right of Into the Core. So that requires 4 hearts to enter. We may see players get that with B-sides or with blue hearts. Because there's reason to play 1B and 5B on this board, and 3B. Wow, lots of hard objectives.
If Vapo goes for jump on 10 snowballs. Snowballs in this chapter. Funnily enough, there are no snowballs in 7B, so as funny as that would be.
4B. There are snowballs in
Are
7B.
there snowballs in 7B?
Yep, there's one room with them. Same as
see.
7A.
Well, like,
Yep,
no why
seeing the
just said
snowballs
that.
here.
Yeah. No why said. It's not relevant to begin with because Vapo's game than worry, so.
Is Tempo going for... Okay, the cassette. That makes sense. Yeah, so Tempo knows that Vapo is a fair bit ahead in progress, and if they let Vapo make it out of 4A and then go snipe the 2A cassette objective, that would be pretty bad for them, because then they'd likely still be behind and also losing fast objectives. So instead, they are making sure to snag these quick things that Vapo would probably like to get otherwise.
I was gonna say that surely the Tempo knows that the Rambular dashing tick was a delay, but Vapo ticked off a jump on 10 snowballs anyway, so not really relevant.
We also see Tempo making quite a bit of progress towards 4 blue hearts, which I like.
I think this was a good play of coming back, getting the heart, and getting the cassette. I think it's completely reasonable.
I wonder if there's enough in early game for them to like just go play Resort right now.
The plan with getting 2A heart on the time.
4 blue hearts.
But like, why now? You
Yeah,
know?
see, they go into Resort now. I think this is probably fine.
How many hearts do they have? You know?
They have 1A, 2A, 4A.
Oh, they have 4A? Okay, then this makes more sense.
Yeah, so
down.
now with this mid-game play, Undertempo is really conceding all progress and saying, all right, Vapo, you can have all these late-game things, which is a dangerous play, but could work out very well if Vapo does not make the read that Tempo is doing that. So we may see Tempo delay some objectives here in order to keep information from Vapo. I think that would be pretty pivotal for making this route work.
I think it's very hard for Vapor to read that Tempo is in Brazil right now. So it could potentially be very good. This does also give under tempo progress towards E-Winged. Might not be relevant for a while, but...
I'm looking at objectives, and this might work. It's going to be tight, though. Tempo can't lose many objectives here. So with Grabless Chef, 10 berries in 3A, all Presidential Sweet Berries, and Celeste Resort B-Side, you've got 4 objectives. And then, like, you start adding stuff like 4 Blue Hearts, 15 and 2, the core objective, 1B. So it's like, there's enough in early game to make it work, but they pretty much need to get all of it. And if Vapo understands that Tempo is doing this, then they may be able to snipe stuff like 1B or the 15 and 2 objective. But I'm sure we will see Vapo finish this checkpoint here.
Did Vapo get the cassette?
I did not see.
Assume they didn't.
One advantage that Tempo has by keeping so much information from Vapo is that Vapo can't really play like super optimally. Like if Vapo does want both the heart and the cassette in this checkpoint that he just played, but since he doesn't have much information, he may have skipped the cassette to rush getting the key and the heart there. Yeah, it looks like that's what happened. Ooh, is Tempo gonna be able to get 4 blue hearts? This is a really close race.
Vapo is getting buried.
For 15 and 2, I would assume.
Yeah.
I think Under Tempo's got it, but it's gonna be really close.
I think Tempo's got it.
Yeah.
Surely.
Vapo's going for more berries.
They may choose to delay this though, which it looks like what is happening. But like, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
Vapo already has the 5A heart.
No.
And he's now getting the 4A heart.
I mean, taking off 4 blue hearts doesn't even say much, to be honest.
Oh, this is gonna be a tragic moment.
Tempo, you gotta tick this. So this is one of the things that can happen with delaying, is that you can over delay and lose objectives to it.
And that's the saddest part, because you're like, I had this. That's like the most tragic bingo moment.
Yeah.
No.
Vapo is committing to these blue hearts.
Tick it right now. Just take your time and tick it right now. Just please.
Tempo may tick at the end of this checkpoint here.
Oh no.
Tick right now. Just stop and tick
Vapo
it.
going into 1A. I'm hearing the Jaws music.
I'm so stressed. No.
Okay, tick
All
off
right,
here.
stop and tick it right now.
No,
No.
no. Okay, get the wing and tick off. I believe. I've never believed so far in my life.
Oh no, it's gonna turn
No,
blue.
your
It's gonna
tempo's
turn blue.
placed.
This is so sad.
No.
It turns orange.
What? Oh my gosh! How?
That's the most legendary life I've ever seen in my life.
How? What? You did? Okay, so here's the thing. I don't even know what they get out of that. Like, what do you gain from delaying that for so long?
An objective, I guess. You know? That's so silly.
So when thinking about delaying objectives, it's like you want to either 1, be denying information, or 2, be baiting them into doing something you have and wasting their time. I'm not sure if Tempo was predicting Vapo to be doing hearts. I guess so. After the key and depths tick off, you're like, okay, they go to 4A, get the heart there, then the 2A heart, and then the 1A heart. And maybe they just got really lucky with the timing there.
Yeah. That has to be right.
And now, because of that delay, we see Vapo committing immediately to the core play, which they do get. There's not much synergy in doing that at this point, because there's really nothing else here. but Vapo does get a fairly quick objective. You could see they were only in that chapter for less than a minute.
Yeah,
Actually.
it's a pretty quick objective once you have 4 hearts. So.
That was incredible. That was such I'm so glad we got to all experience that bingo moment together. For those of you who are watching bingo for the first time, that's why these matches are so fun. Is the delaying, the strategy, that was my heart. My heart!
Get stressed just by watching it, so you can imagine playing it. Ugh. Right, where are we going now?
And think about that from Vapo's perspective. Like, you just spent a minute and a half getting hearts, and you get locked out by like a second.
Oh my goodness. It's so sad, actually. And Tempo does have to play Temple. They did skip a Temple Resort. Oh. Interesting, at least.
Did Tempo end up finishing Huge Mess? I didn't see.
No. I think they unlocked shaft, didn't they? I thought unlocked the shaft or quite the heart.
Okay, I hope they unlocked
I'm not
elevator
entirely
shaft, because that is a very long checkpoint. If not,
Seems like
they did
no.
not.
Okay.
That's probably fine.
Yeah, I could see that. There's quite a bit in shaft. So B-side on the board, grab this elevator shaft. All
Alright,
base in
so with
presidential
Vapo-
suite.
With Vapo entering 5B, I'm curious to see if they have if he has a win condition from late game. So we've got objectives like Summit B-side, 4 gems in Summit, 5 gems in Summit, berries in 2,500 meters, and 8 winged. That's 5 objectives right there that you pretty much need Summit access for, as well as Blue and Red in Temple, Grabless Lake, and Reflection Cassette. So essentially from Temple, Reflection, and Summit, Vapo has a win condition.
Yeah.
And can get to 13. So Tempo, if they don't realize that in time and don't contest some of these objectives, they may be in rough shape. We'll see what they do here after Resort.
I mean, it's also assuming Vapo doesn't quit out at any point and go do like early objectives. Like say B-side on the boards. What else? Most of it is late game, so I find it pretty unlikely. There's still stuff
And
in
interesting-
Resort, stuff in City.
Yeah. An interesting play Tempo could make is the 8 winged and winged goldenberry synergy, because like if you get access to the second checkpoint of 5A, you have access to 7 normal winged berries, and then the winged golden gets you an 8th. But I don't know if you're getting that before Vapo just gets to 8 in Summit anyway. It sort of
I'd
depends
find
on
it
where.
unlikely.
Yeah, it sort of depends on where these players go after their current chapters.
Yeah.
Well, that was a crazy save by Tempo right there with that berry.
Didn't see it, but I believe you.
Right now, they're very clearly going for 15 berries in 2 chapters, as well as getting access to elevator shaft.
That's good. I mean, just getting access to shaft gives you 2 pretty easy objectives.
Yeah, there's a good amount there.
One thing Vapo does also have access to is Talk to Theo and Search. So yeah, Tempo I think needs to get into some later chapters here to have a chance at staying in the match. See, hopefully they go into Temple soon. They're not doing Grabless. Okay, quitting out. Either turning Grabless on or going to another chapter. Nice. Okay.
Does Fable have the blue heart temple?
Yes.
You don't know. Okay.
Yeah, because he was going for the
He's
full
delaying.
Blue Heart Snipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So with Tempo ticking 15 berries in 2 chapters, Vapo knows that Tempo was not playing B-sides recently and can stand to delay this Blue and Red and Temple tick for a bit.
Yeah, knowing how long and when to delay is like such the high echelon of bingo strategy, and it's what makes it really, really exciting when they're pulled off
Yeah.
well. I would say a lot of players will be like, oh, I'm going to delay until I do X thing. That way you don't forget. So it's like, okay, when is Vapo going to decide to delay this until, you know, so it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I'd probably
Yeah.
take off Temple when you finish Grabber's Lake, personally, but it's different for everyone, so guess we'll just see.
And then it's like the question of, do I chain the delays? Do I then tick that off and delay Grabless Leg? You know, or do you just, it's gets really wild.
Yeah, so the big thing about delays is where do you think your opponent is and where do you think they're going next? And if your opponent was delaying objectives, that can make those predictions difficult, but also Vapo also just denied information for a minute here, and I think that's still pretty valuable, and then they immediately take the reflection objectives.
Yeah.
So I think that's okay. And now he is still like 2.5 minutes ahead here. And going for winged berries, I would see. It's a pretty strong play, I think.
Yeah, Vapor also ticked off Bloom Red Heart Mirror Temple.
Yep.
Is born, I think.
Yeah, so what we see Vapo doing is going around to all these different chapters, cleaning up these winged berries, and then heading into Summit.
Oh, no. Yes. Yes. Okay.
He may elect to just get the 3 winged berries that are in Summit. They go pretty late, though, so we've got a berry in 500 meters.
He has 6, doesn't he?
I think he has 5.
I don't know. I guess we'll
Does.
find out in like 30 seconds, so it's not that big of a
He
deal.
didn't- Vapo did not play any 3A, so he can't have more than 5 right now.
Oh, I see. Probably
So
right then.
the winged berries in Summit are in 500 meters, 1500 meters, and 2000 meters. But as Vapo, like, you're playing those checkpoints anyway, so it's not really a big deal that they're so late.
Yeah, because you have the 2 gem objectives, you have the 2500 meter berries, like you're going there anyway. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially because I
man,
think
this-
Vapo can assume that Under Tempo isn't anywhere, you know, and it isn't contesting anything near these. Can take the time to just
Yeah.
clear it out.
I think in order to stay in the game, Tempo probably needs to snipe 8 winged berries. And I'm not sure if they have enough time to do
Yeah,
that. We'll see.
I don't see that happening, so.
I think they only need to go back to like 2A, 5A, and then like 500 meters, so it may be doable. This 5B has been going alright for them.
It's a very difficult route to make, though. No,
I don't know, I think you can see as Tempo that Vapo has a pretty strong win condition in Summit if you let them get the winged berry objective.
Yeah.
So hopefully they make that read and snipe it. It is interesting to see that we are like, what, 25 minutes into this match, 23 minutes, and Forsaken City B-side is still on the board.
Yeah. This kind of shows how much of a time sink those kinds of objects are.
Yeah, even though the chapter itself isn't too long, there's a lot of other synergy-based stuff that these players can't afford to be leaving on the table for each other.
There's also nothing that synergizes with the city B-side, so.
Yeah, we
Like,
don't have any
the entire
overarching
board.
B-side objectives. U-Tempo headed straight into Summit.
And
They
this
will be
one's
getting the
still
gems.
going. Where does Undertempo think Vapor is my
don't know.
question. Because you're getting gems. I assume you don't think he's in Summit?
The 0 meter gem is a really long one to come back for, so getting it is just like some decent insurance. Yeah,
That's
so they're
fair.
not going for
Okay.
the 500 meter gem.
Okay.
Oh, I like this play a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
So-
I agree.
I'm down with this. I'm down
Yeah,
with
what we
this
see
for
there
sure.
is they get the 0 meter gem because it's about 40 seconds to come back for it. So if Vapo isn't going for gems right now, then it's good to have it. But if they are, then you just grab the wings and get out, and you are only in summit for like a minute 15 or something.
This winged takeoff is going to be really close. I think
Yeah, we can
Undertempo only
see-
has to go to 2A.
Vapo, I believe, skipped the 7A cassette, which
Yeah,
they
he
would
did.
get to play 7B, but are just rushing for.
The cassette's pretty fast to go back for, it's like not a big deal.
Yeah, it's near the start of a checkpoint.
Yeah.
4 gems in summit, turns blue. That's information for tempo. Information at this point of the match is really, really important because that can inform you of like what 13 objectives your opponent is maybe looking at and how you can counterplay their route.
What color is the winged objective gonna become?
Tempo has
Oh,
8,
something
Vapo has 7. It turns orange.
That's orange, okay. I thought
That's very
Vapo-
good for tempo.
I thought they both had 7, so. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, that was
works for
a
tempo,
good play.
sure. Yeah. AB side. Like 30 minutes into the match, let's go.
Here it is.
This makes sense for tempo. They can't really contest 5 gems. They can't really contest 2,500 meter berries. And so you need to knock out some quick stuff now, and then maybe you can go to Farewell or Theo and Search. I'm not sure. This is
mean-
shaping up to be a really interesting endgame.
I mean, Grappler's Shaft and Presidential Suit Bears is still on the board. So, like,
I don't know if Tempo can afford to do them yet, though.
I mean, it's an option, you know?
Yeah.
I agree that it's, like, very risky to do it right now, but it is an option.
I think as Tempo, you kind of have to hope that Vapo has no 3A progress and does not go into 3A, and
Yeah.
then just leave those on the board for a very long time.
Could see that.
So while those objectives are fast for Tempo, I think they probably need to be contesting stuff like Farewell and Wing Golden in order to get to 13 here.
Yeah, this is gonna be a really fun end game. I think. I'm
Yeah, the second
really
game's,
happy with how this has been shaping up.
this game could realistically go on for another 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah, that would
not
not be
gonna lie,
surprising.
like,
Maybe if we go to Summit B-side race.
Let's go.
With Vapo at 9 objectives, I guess, and getting this Theo and Search, then they do win from a Summit play. So we'll see if they mind game and multitask. Maybe Tempo can lock them out of everything, but otherwise Tempo will need to likely end up playing 7B early if Vapo ends up going there. I'm curious to see how this plays out.
but does people go after? It's a real question.
Definitely back to Summit.
Makes
All right, we
sense.
see
for sure.
Tempo enter Farewell.
You
And
mean
Diamond-
very try. Very cool, very
I've
cool.
done it so much.
Oh my goodness.
Also, my talk button is F, so I always have to press F to talk to Grading Scrape, which is something.
That's actually pretty funny.
It's great.
I do enjoy that we have nested L's on the bingo board right now.
It's tough, for sure. There's Vapor just rushing. What's the plan here?
Berries?
Yeah, they're headed to 2,500
Yeah.
meters. So
I
this does
see.
give Tempo some time to make it to the 7-8 cassette, but they're not using it for that.
Yeah.
So they might not be able to interrupt Vapo's win condition.
Honestly, I didn't even see 2.5 Blueberries on the board. So you mentioned it. I was like, why is Vapor continuing to play Summit? And that all makes sense.
Reading the bingo board is the hardest part of bingo.
Yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
legitimately really difficult to learn how to read it all and remember where things are and remember what you're
Yeah.
working towards. That was like my biggest hurdle when playing
Yeah.
bingo, is I would just forget what I was doing. Constantly.
Oh my goodness.
We see both players simultaneously decide to tick off their delayed objectives.
Very cool, very cool.
I think that happens a lot though. Like people will tick some, you'll see your opponent tick something and you panic tick. Like you'll just be like, okay, I gotta tick whatever I was hiding.
I just see someone tick something off and get like really mad and just tick off whatever I had.
Yeah, I think it happens fairly often of just
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, I'm gonna tick now.
I think this tick makes sense for Vapo. It had been 4 minutes since Tempo ticked 8 wings, so it's like, okay, they probably delayed that 1B objective. I'm not gonna sit on this Theo and search any longer, because if they're getting progress through 5A, that would be bad for me.
Yeah.
Vapo's in such a strong position that he doesn't need to play too risky with these delays.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get too greedy when you're ahead with delaying things, because that can just be your downfall.
Yeah, I think if Vapo goes for 7B, he just wins.
Pretty much, yeah.
What does Tempo have? Like 500 meters on it, I think?
Yep.
It's like, not enough. I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
Just
if
going-
Tempo quit out after Singular, I think we'd have a close race in 7B on our hands, but instead they're just continuing to get this objective, which I think is, you know, it's so hard to know where your
Yeah,
opponent is. I
for
think
sure.
it's fine. Of course,
Like,
as
it's
commentators
very
and
visible.
viewers, we have perfect information, but these players do not.
Yeah.
We see a wing goal in play
Yes!
already.
Now we have to sit around for 10 minutes. This is so sad.
No,
No, I
this
trust
is gonna be gamer.
Vapo will just die 200 times, you know?
I'm ready for the wing duel. I'm ready.
I wonder what Tempo could have done differently here. I guess maybe they needed to snipe the core objective,
Yeah, potentially.
but then like if
I think letting Vapo get all of the reflection stuff was also not great. But I don't know what you could have done.
they were so far
really?
behind at that
Yeah.
point that I don't think they really could have risked contested
Yeah.
that.
I think Vapo just
Me-
did a really good job of reading like what he needed to do.
Yeah,
And like sometimes
absolutely,
that just
yeah,
for
happens.
sure.
Like if your opponent makes really good reads, I mean sometimes you can just get they've both been playing well. Vapo just did a lot of really good choices.
Sure. Oh no, I just don't think Tempo got enough out of Vapo focusing so much on 6A.
I think probably one of the big defining factors of this match was that Tempo skipped Resort and then pretty much immediately
Yeah.
had to go back into earlier chapters because they were behind into Ridge. So if they were able to skip Ridge and get into Temple sooner, or even play Ridge and get into Summit sooner, I think we'd probably be looking at a different match because they would have been able to get
Yeah.
some objectives quicker here. I did not mind how they routed.
Yeah.
It was a very solid mid game from both players here.
I think both routes were fine. One wins and one doesn't, you know?
It's a pretty clean 1A dashes from
This
them.
is I'm really
Honestly, yeah.
I'm watching respectfully. And you love to see 7B in bingo.
Truly.
Definitely.
What the people want, so. This is so
The
sad.
classic.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, very nice. Okay, and then going for 7B here. Yeah.
unfortunate.
There was possibly an opportunity for Untempo to go 7B earlier, and
You
but
just have to make
so
that read.
behind, and so it's hard to recover from being behind that so many checkpoints.
For sure.
It's okay. Vapo quits out here and goes to win Goldenberry.
Oh, true.
I've got the reads. I pulled up the script.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
Well, you called them up? I'll let you.
I really like that we've got, like, between these 3 matches, we've seen a lot of divergence in what objectives we've seen, which is really nice. And different pathings that you can take. And that's what makes bingo so fun to watch, is it's all so different every single time.
I will also comment for people looking at the board and seeing Undertempo probably finishing with 9 objectives here. It is worth noting that they have a substantial lead towards Grabless Elevator Shaft, All Berries and Presidential Suite, and Celeste Resort B-Side. So this match functionally is finishing as a 13-12 match, which is as close as it can get. So I think if with one different read in mid game, like if Tempo had been after they'd gotten the what heart was it? 2A heart. If they had gone to core as they delayed the 4 blue hearts, I think they probably are set up in a position to win the game.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The colors you see on the board do not represent accurately how close these players are to objectives.
I think just looking at the score very rarely tells the full story.
Yeah.
So.
That's what we talked about last match too.
Vapo playing a pretty clean 7B here so far.
Alright, this is why Vapo quits out trust.
Double 7B content, yes!
Tax element, for sure.
Yeah, chat's discussing this, but for people really not understanding why Vapo would be going to 7B, it's because of certainty. If Vapo was gonna try and go for any of the other objectives, it's much more risky, and it could cause a snowball effect of Vapo wasting all of his time when this is a certainty, pretty much. So when you're ahead, you're looking for your win con, and you just want that to be as like not risky as possible.
Tempo was delaying objectives to deny some information, but what they ticked off starting at 8 winged berries, which was like 12 minutes ago at this point, they ticked off Forsaken City B-Side, 2 keys in Power Source, and winged Goldenberry. So Vapo pretty much knows for sure that Tempo did not get additional progress into 7A. And also that they did not do 8 winged with the winged Golden, because otherwise that would have been ticked off soon. So this is just a very, very safe play for Vapo because it has been uncontested up to this point in the game.
Yeah, it's a completely reasonable question though, because you're like, wait,
sure.
This could be a lot faster, but it's all, of course, we can see both player screens. They can't see each other. They don't know. We don't know where they are. That's a scary moment of what if I choose wrong.
Yeah, one of the hardest things about close end games is correctly figuring out what your opponent did in mid game, because oftentimes mid game has so many divergent paths that it's like, okay, where were they when? What checkpoints have they unlocked? Is it safe for me to do this? And this is just the absolute safest play for Vapo to win this match, and I definitely respect that. You gotta play your outs.
Yeah. Sure.
Keeping track of what your opponent is doing and has done is really hard.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing that separates the highest level of play from people who are newer to Celeste Bingo. Being able to accurately predict that and understand what objectives are high value. And early in the game, sometimes when you make a non-progress play like Tempo did, you need to be counting to 13 so that you know what you need to get early. But yeah, with that, we see Vapo tick his 13th objective and win the match.
GG's.
Very well played.
Yeah, it's important to remember that this is the same game that Vapor was 1 second away from getting full hearts. Like,
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
that was so good.
full blue hearts, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This game would have been over like 10 minutes ago. I think someone in chat said that, so it's like crazy.
Yeah, that
thinking
lockout
about
was so cool. There was a lot of really great moments in this match, and all the matches we've seen today. So excellent job, runners.
In the Bingo Sync chat, Vapo said the 7B that he got just now beats his best 7B in a full game run. So that was
Wow,
a very nice display of skill there that we saw.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
My 5B PB is in bingo, and I think that's wonderful.
The Bingo PB is a classic.
It is, definitely.
All right, any last wrap-up words you have about that match before we get set up for our next one from either of you?
I think I've
I
said
don't think so.
everything.
All right, well, GG's to Undertempo and Vapo. Vapo's going to be playing in the semis tomorrow. Don't forget it, like, we still have an entire day of bingo going on tomorrow. Same time, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can see the bracket at !bracket. If you're coming in, not sure what the rules are, !lockout, or be sure to ask questions in chat. We have plenty of community members that are here to help. And if you like watching bingo, you can head on over to twitch.tv/Celeste Community. We do a lot of events, bingo, task showcases, Archithon, tons of awesome stuff. So be sure to drop a follow over there if you're enjoying this and haven't seen it before and want to see more. But we're going to get set up for our next match. So, we're going to take a short little break and we'll see you back for our final bingo match of the day. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for our final match of the Celeste Expert Lockout Bingo Tournament. For today, don't forget we have an entire day of matches tomorrow starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you've been having fun here, be sure to tune in to see even more exciting bingo matches. But we're getting set up for Tio versus Verdal. Before we get into that, just want to say that you can check out Games Done Quick on Instagram to get bite-sized clips from our Hotfix shows and see what happens at the events. You might even get to see a bingo clip for some of the awesome moments we've already seen today. And One and Doneathon is coming up again, where you can show off your favorite run and then never again be in the marathon. The second installment is happening August 13th and 14th. Be sure to get your submissions in. They're open until July 20th. Use !OADAT in chat to find out more information and submit your runs. And I do want to say that Flame Fatale's prizes are open now. So if you go to gamesdonequick.com, you can click the link to the prize guide and submit your prizes. I would love to see what the amazing things you would like to submit. We have our schedule available if you want to get inspiration from there. And all right, I think we are just about ready for our next match. We have LM Jackson Churgen here on commentary again. Y'all ready for another exciting bingo match?
I'm
so ready.
I'm so ready. Are our players ready?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
Good question. Okay, I think we're good.
All right, sweet. With that, I think we'll leave it to Jax to do our player countdown and everything if we're all good to go.
I'm making a final check. Trujen, if you want to give a rundown of the format again, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead, Trujen. Update everyone on what lockout is.
Sure. So essentially, in a few moments, you'll see a board full of 25 things that you can do in the game, and the end goal, is to get 13 of them, which is a majority of the objectives. In addition, we have a few progression rules set into system because Celeste is a pretty linear game at the end of the day. So you can skip one chapter of your choice, and you if you ever unlock Temple, you also unlock Farewell, which is the last chapter. Core is always unlocked, which is the 8th chapter, but you do need 4 hearts to get into it. And if you ever unlock Reflection, you also unlock Summit. So, good. Should cover everything.
All right. Well, we'll have the players go shortly here in 3, 2, 1, go.
So early on, there doesn't seem to be much. There's like 10 berries in 1A, 10 berries in 2A. Apart from that, I don't see a lot you want to go for. There's Theorem Crossing and 4 optional Theorem Crossings, which is interesting. There doesn't seem to be much until Resort Ridge.
There's some interesting berry stuff going on here. Did you mention that already? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
10 and 1, 10 and 2. What I mentioned. It's like 5 winged. Yeah, I just mentioned this a lot early. So
We're having Ray was a little bit checked out here, so we're on the wrong scene. It'll be fixed shortly here.
oh no.
Okay, there we go. Now you can see
Cool.
everything.
My Chrome also just crashed on me, so I think we're just having a little bit of curse happening with technology.
Having
It's
a
okay.
moment, I see.
Okay, you did not miss much. We have the players not skip cutscenes and prologues so that they have a chance to read the board. Now you get a chance to not see them reading the board, but it's okay. We're back. All good. There's a fair bit in 3A, I think, so I assume we will see at least one player play that on first pass. There's the berry objective, there's a Pico objective, 2 winged and 2 chapters is a soft 3A objective because you can get that early in 1A and 3A. And then the huge mesh order, is there any more?
Grabless, huge mess.
5 winged. There's a lot of incentive to play 3A on this board.
Yeah, that's a decent amount of really. There's also a 4 optional Theo cutscenes. You also to get that, you need to get the cutscene in Shaft.
Yep.
Okay,
So right off the bat, we
Yes.
see Tio going for berries and Vertil only getting the winged, which is interesting. So Vertil will probably be ahead out of City here, barring anything catastrophic happening.
yeah, there's just not a lot early. Problem.
That's what we saw last match as well. Like there wasn't a ton of early, and so mid decided like everything.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess we'll just see if anyone goes into resort. I'll probably I'll probably say a lot.
I would be interested to see if we get an old site skip. That would be very fun. I
That
think
would
it's
be
viable on this
interesting.
board. So typically we see players skip either 3A or 5A since they're the longest chapters before Summit. But on a board like this, with so many objectives in 3A and synergy between 1A and 3A, you can actually skip old site and then continue playing.
Yeah.
Verto will most likely not because he did an any percent 1A clear, so Tio can't really be ahead of him right now. But Tio may choose to skip 2A to get 3A access. It's a pretty risky play.
I probably
I'm not sure if he would do
wouldn't,
that
but-
in this setting.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't, but it would be funny. Okay, Tio goes back to 1A. No,
I don't think he meant
quits
to
out.
do that.
Okay, going
He
into
does go
site.
into 2A.
Okay,
I think another valid way for Tio to play this early game is to do grabless and berries and then skip 3A. And sort of hope that his opponent goes into that chapter. It looks like we do see Vertil starting to get berries here, which is very smart because he knows he has a lead into this chapter.
are there one-up objectives? Am I just blind?
There are not, no.
Okay, this is just Virtual's moving, I guess.
One objective we hasn't mentioned, and one of our newer objectives, is 5 keys in 2 chapters, which 3A is an important chapter for.
Yeah. There's so much in 3A. Good gracious. Yeah, Tio is playing grabless, but there's just not a lot to say.
Despite that, he's keeping up with Vertil. This
Playing
is interesting.
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vertil maybe, he did spend more time getting berries and start,
Yeah.
but which I guess gets him the 10 berries and 2A objective faster. We'll see if Tio can execute. These next couple battle line rooms are pretty tough grabless. See if Tio has some strats. Oh my, that was really clean.
That was nice, yeah.
I think that's a new 80% strat that makes that a little bit easier. Alright, so Vertil does take 10 berries in 2A. They are dead even in progress.
Nichiga says, or
Yeah.
never mind.
Ooh, I wonder, do these players get the winged in sight? It's kind of tricky for Tio to get it while playing grabless, so he may skip. With 2 winged in 2 chapters and 5 winged on the board, you can either skip this and get it later, or try to get it now. I see Vertil opting to get it now, Tio skipping it, and heading straight into Resort, presumably.
Makes sense.
Taking
I
Grabless
respect
immediately.
that. Well, also, I mean, with Grabless, I think Tio just wanted to ensure that
Ooh.
they got
I don't
it.
know if I agree
Oh,
with
going
this,
back?
I don't agree with this play, yeah.
Huh. Okay.
I wonder where he thought Vertil had gotten his 10 berries from. Also, you still have Grabless on Tio. There we go.
Yeah, he's realizing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you should have capitalized on the fact that you're ahead there.
I mean, if you skip Resort, I think this is fine. Oh,
Well, no, there's no way he skips Resort because the only reason you get that winged is to go and get 2 more in Resort.
Yeah, interesting.
So now we see
so,
Tio. Now we see Tio like 25 seconds behind here. And it appears that Vertil is just rushing the winged berries and huge mess order, which makes a lot of sense. One thing Tio could potentially do here is elect to go towels first. So the winged berry and huge mess is in the section with the purple blocks on the right. And the huge mess order objective that is on this board has the player starting in a different section. So Tio could potentially snipe those objectives if he goes to that section and Vertil does not, but I'm not sure what these players will choose to do in this checkpoint here.
very difficult for Tio to make that call because he just doesn't know where Vertil is.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
Vertil not playing.
Vertil, okay.
Yeah, this makes sense, I think. It's a really high priority thing to get.
Excellent.
Tio turns on Grabless.
Tio turns on Grabless. I think that's good. Sure.
Yeah, so those wing tick-offs tell Tio exactly where Vertil has been, and likely that he is not doing the huge mess order as well. So Tio can now still get a fair amount of value out of this huge mess. And he does that. Very nice.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
Also
an example
afraid-
of 2 players going into a chapter but splitting objectives, which
Yeah,
is really cool.
I was very afraid that this game was going to go very one-sided, but it is not. So here we go.
This is a difficult section to do Grabless, so we see Tio struggling with the execution a bit, but I think he comes away all right here. It'll be like 3-4. Are there any late resort objectives that Vertil is ahead towards, or not really?
Don't think so. I didn't see any. Nope, doesn't seem to be.
Yeah. I don't know how much Vertil has played with the new objectives, like 5 keys and 2. So if he does not get the key in shaft, that may be a significant time sink where he has to come back for it later. Most players, when doing this chapter, will elect to do a skip in elevator shaft that specifically does not get the key. Oh, quitting out.
Spicy. Theo?
Oh, talk to Theo and Crossing is
I
on the
think
board.
Theo.
Okay.
Yeah, because and there's 4 Theos, so this is a good
down.
play because
Sure.
Verdal's ahead and has the time to do this.
Theo, where are you going? Okay, there we go.
Absolutely close. It's
And then just popping right back to resort. Yeah,
okay, sure.
I
I'm down.
respect that.
Makes sense.
Capitalize on being ahead.
Theo has a difficult room Grabless here. I would like to see him
This room
do
is
an upright
terrible.
demo dash. There we go, he gets
Oh.
through.
No. But now is not the time.
Is he going for a silly demo?
Yes. We went for the demo in the classroom. You know the one.
Okay, Vertil is aware and goes and gets the key. Very nice.
Vertil missed
getting
that
Technically
piece.
misses the key, but
Well,
Should
it's
be
okay.
fine.
He's got to come back out. Don't worry, he'll get it.
I believe.
Since he's
Okay,
here for
there
the
we
key, you might as well get that cassette. We see 5 cassettes on the board, and that's a long
And
one to come back
4.
for.
And 4, yeah.
Oh wow!
Interesting.
so cassette synergy is kind of wild.
There's 4 cassettes and 5 cassettes and core blue hub, which gives you a cassette, so
Yeah.
quite
Interesting.
funny if nothing else.
I wonder how these players get to 4 hearts. There is 2 blue and 2 red hearts on the board.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's 4B. You're already needing some cassettes. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Be interesting what the players do. Get the red hearts. Very good.
Where does Verdal think Tio is? That's a good. I
It's a
mean,
good question. The
that's a
last
good
thing,
question.
the last thing to ticked off was Grapplers 2A. So
I think as Vertil, you know that he's behind you in 3A. There's really not anywhere else he could be. There's no way Tio delays Shrine without dashing this long if you went to 4A.
Sure.
I think a 4A skip here would do well for Tio. There's really not that much in Ridge, and that gives him access to another chapter with 5 keys. It gives him access to Seekers to kill. Gives him access to another Theo cutscene. That could be a very, very strong play. I think continuing to play behind Vertil in Ridge would be pretty rough.
yeah, I'd agree with that. I also don't think Virgil knows that Tio played 3A, but you can probably make a pretty decent guess.
I assume Tio ticks off his huge mess objective soon here. Oh, he does go into 4A. Another thing you can do in 4A is grab the cassette, finish start, and then skip, because that gets you a really fast cassette. We'll see what he chooses to do here.
Good.
Taking off his objectives makes sense.
Okay. That does make sense.
So was that his game lagging? Or
Yeah,
just
I
it
think
might
so.
just be the Discord stream. Okay, anyway.
Fumbled, so it's probably his game.
See Vertil going for a very quick 4 cassettes play, it looks like. As he finished 4A start and then went immediately back to 1A. Interesting. So with objectives like 4 cassettes and 5 cassettes, something you can do is, it normally wouldn't be a great play to rush this so quickly, but because there's both of those objectives, you can rush that, indicate progress towards your opponent, and then hold off on doing the other one for quite a while because you got this one so early. You can discourage them from getting progress towards it.
How does Tio keep playing?
At this point, he's ahead in progress. He turns Grabless on. That
Grabless
is
on?
not how this
Why?
works.
That is not on the board, actually. She did that.
There is no dashless variant, unfortunately.
Classic.
They're trading objectives here. Vertil probably goes back into
Yeah.
4A and then attempts dashless shrine, but he'll be
skip.
behind. Oh,
Okay.
that's a very strong skip.
Yeah, I like that.
So the thing about this board is that there really is not much in Reflection and Summit, and so playing through 4A is really not that necessary.
Is there anything at Summit, actually?
I don't see anything.
I think
You've
it's,
got
3 gems in
3
Summit. That's the
gems,
only
but
thing
like-
in Summit.
Wow. And all binos in 500 meters. There's a little, but not a ton.
and
At
we
least
see
a little bit.
Tio go into 4B. All right.
4B gaming. 4. It's on
I haven't
the
seen
board.
4B today yet, have we?
No,
We have not.
So nice.
Off to a strong start here. Tio going for difficult strat in this room.
Tio, please.
All right, there we are.
That's
looks
not
like-
an upright dash, actually.
It looks like he's having some issues with Mr. X, yeah.
His
go.
progress was 2 blue, 2 red. Obi's on the board. Anything else? Let's see anything else.
Yeah, he's having a lot of issues with Mr. X. I wonder if his controller's acting up.
I think it's a controller thing.
It's a really unfortunate time if that's the case.
Seems like a control thing. But no 6 off 5 cassettes immediately. So.
Oh yeah, he's really getting trolled.
Yeah. Sick down dash.
We have STO. Yeah, okay. So can we get a pause for the players here?
Yeah, can we pause?
Yep. All right, looks like Verdal's pausing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we don't want him to have to play like that for the rest of the match.
That would not be good.
The great thing is the players are, watching Bingo Sync and we're able to talk to them. And this happens sometimes where you have to you pause in the middle of the match, figure it out.
In the meantime, we have a little bit of time to talk about the rest of the board here. We see Vertal in 5B. Looks like he's getting progress towards 2 blue and 2 red hearts, which he may actually be able to do faster than Tio, even though Tio's doing an earlier B side. And
It's
obviously,
different seekers.
yeah, Vertal has access to seeker kills.
One thing this does set them back on is off optional Theo cutscenes. You need a cutscene in 5A.
So we are paused so that Tio can sort out his controller situation. He was having a lot of trouble getting. It looked like what was happening is his right inputs weren't going through because he was having upright dashes get directed to up, and as well as downright dashes get directed to straight down.
Yeah,
and
he
in
was, like, trying to
Celeste, you
hyper.
really need to be able to move to the right because it's a pretty important
platformer.
thing.
It's a platformer. We must go to the right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The pause. Chad is also pointing out the Bubs drop pause. This is a
This is
very
really
fun
good,
place
yeah,
to
I
be
like
paused. I love that.
Video gaming for sure.
This is a very suspenseful point for Vertal to pause.
That's incredible.
Very representative. I do say so myself.
Okay, Tio is restarting game quick, and he'll be back shortly, hopefully.
Yep. Thanks everyone for being patient with us. We're chilling.
This shows just how high echelon this is. Like when stuff goes wrong, and like this platform is really tight. It can be pretty problematic when your inputs aren't working right.
Oh, 100%.
Green square.
I see.
I had a situation once where I was playing Celeste and my W key was only working like half the time, which is my up key. And
My goodness.
I was having an experience and had to like re-clean out my entire keyboard to make it work again. It was really rude in the middle of my like any percent speed run. All right, looks like our players are back and ready to resume. So we'll just do a countdown in the Bingo Sync chat and also countdown out loud, Jax, and we can
Sure.
restart.
Should we give Tio a 10-second head start?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right, we have Tio. Tio's already started, so we will have Vertal start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, sweet.
Seems good.
Oh, is Riddle not here? Oh no, he said
Oh
R.
no.
Wait,
Birdo.
you said R. He's good.
Oh my
Oh, he missed
Okay.
Bump Drop.
He missed Bumps Drop. No.
You know, it's fine. It makes up for his Tio missing so many strats. It's
That's
okay.
True.
True,
It's
true, true.
fair. That was kind of funny.
Oh my god.
There we go. He gets it second try.
But the first time wasn't his fault. No, the first time wasn't his fault. All right, now we're gaming. Tio's playing the video game.
So true.
Okay, Tio was just checking there that Frodo was playing.
Yeah. Alright, I think we're good now.
Alrighty.
A little loss.
Oh, there's another summit objective actually that we failed to point out earlier. All binos in 3 and 500 meters.
I think Ferguson pointed out, so
Oh, did you? Okay.
yeah.
I didn't see it at first either. I only saw gems, then I was like, oh wait, there's the Bino one as well.
Yeah.
But there's really like not anything in reflection though. Like there's the blue heart.
Yeah, this blue
that's-
heart, it's like
Eh.
normal shells. Yeah.
So it's weird when there's potentially more things in farewell than in reflection. Kind of odd. That's a strange.
Oh.
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, 5 keys and power source synergize really, really well with 5 keys and 2 chapters for these players. As well as Grabless power source. I think Grabless power source doesn't really make the keys any harder because like you're just with jellies the whole time anyway.
Yeah. Doesn't really make it harder, so.
Oh, I wonder if we see Tio make an immediate farewell play after this. I had not even considered that. Then there's also Reach Event Horizon, so getting progress towards that is really strong.
Ooh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually like farewell's kind of like a play. So I'm interested to see who's gonna head there.
Yeah, so this 4B play from Tio, it gets him an immediate objective, and if Vertil isn't playing B-sides, it sets him up for 2 blue and 2 red. If Vertil is playing B-sides, then Tio still has the farewell access from completing Ridge. And then he also gets to skip Temple. So these players will be about even in progress now,
Yeah.
because Vertil played the longer chapter.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of this 4B play from Tio. I think it was smart.
I wonder if we'll instead see him run into Summit for those 2 objectives. I'm not sure what to expect here.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, please don't go into mirror.
Yeah, you skip Temple every time. Oh, weird.
Oh, okay. Just we were talking about farewell, so Verdell's coming here.
Okay. He
ATS
goes into
gaming?
reflection.
This works. So Tio is routing for 2 blue and 2 red, and then going into core, presumably. And so if he's gonna get blue hearts, he might as well get one that gives him an objective. I wonder if he expected that 2 seekers to be a significant delay.
I don't know. Good question. What does Tio get out of this?
Gets him reflection.
blue
Getting the
heart.
reflection. Yeah,
That's the only thing that's here.
Is there anything else?
Not
And
not
progress towards 2 blue, 2 red. That's it.
This is super weird play then. Not sure if I agree with this.
Yeah, I don't think there's
honest.
enough here. 7A I would understand because there's 2 objectives for 2
Yeah.
minutes.
Oh.
So if Tio's conceding all of Farewell, that gets Vertil pretty immediately to 11 objectives. And then stuff
Yeah.
like 4 optional Theo cutscenes, Vertil has a significant lead towards. So maybe we see Tio go to Temple after this and try to snipe 5 keys and 2, but I don't think he has enough time to do that.
Now we'll see what Tio does, I guess.
It looks like it is maybe workable,
Okay, ticking off 4B here.
Yeah.
as well as the Reflection Heart.
Yeah.
So we see
Oh,
that's unfortunate. He may just
Yeah.
hopefully he just does start, but with DTS you're incentivized to play further into the level because you have 2 dashes.
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like you have to know
Is Verdal
Verdal's
gonna
going
go all
here.
the way to Event Horizon, or because doing DTS, or
I mean, where do you think Virgil is? My question. Like,
right?
It doesn't really matter too much if Vertal does go all the way because like the bulk of the objectives are here, right? Like there's 3 objectives. I guess Vertal isn't doing grabless. But yeah, if I were Tio, I would be looking to just leave the farewell objectives and then go for a win condition with Summit, Core, Hearts, and I guess 3A berries and Pico. It's a lot, but it does give you 6 objectives, which is what he needs. And then you also have an additional option with the Theo cutscenes.
imagine if Virgil delays the semi-hypnotic moment.
Oh,
I might cry.
That would be a moment.
I'm also
It probably
wondering
won't happen. But
if it's possible that Tio just snags Grabless Source here. I don't know.
He may, yeah.
yeah, I'd be surprised if.
Instead of
That's
bonus
also good.
keys.
At the same time, I don't know what you expect. Grabless Power Source is also one of our newer objectives, and so these players probably don't have too much experience with it and may not know, like, if your opponent would delay it until you finish, like, delay the key objectives until you finish the checkpoint or what. We do see him turn on Grabless, but he does get some value out of this. And who knows if... Okay, no, Vertal did get that key. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is going to end up being fine because Tio's going to get the Grabless one and you're setting up for progress with Event Horizon. I think Tio's going to assume Verdal's not staying the whole time. to
If
Event
Virgil
Horizon.
keeps doing this, but it should be fine. But
Oh. Going for
What I would be
keys.
concerned about for Tio is if he quits out after seeing this tick off.
Yeah.
that'll be nice.
I would just, okay, ditch the keys and just complete the source. Which might be what's happening.
It looks like it.
It looks like
Okay,
yeah.
okay, I'm...
That's a good play. Oh, man. That was a really cool strat that he almost nailed.
Yeah, that's not a good play, however.
That was really close.
I wonder if he continues or goes to another chapter. I think at this point he has to know he has to go elsewhere, but he still does get 1 objective out of this, which is really, really big. Additionally, because Vertal is stuck here for another minute or so. Tio getting trolled by doing this grabless. I'm sure he's never
no.
done this before. There we go, okay.
It's one of those things where you're like, oh, this can't be that bad grabless, but there's a few things where you're like, oh, I do grab here. Oh,
Not quitting
continuing?
out.
Ooh,
Oh, this could be pretty match defining.
yeah. Oh, off. No.
I thought you were gonna do the RTM there.
Yeah, same. That's so.
So what Tio is probably banking on here is that Vertal does not commit to reach Event Horizon, which you can't really know. It is a pretty decent play for Vertal to get this far in farewell and then quit out,
Yeah.
because he's announced a lot of progress
especially
towards
without
it.
doing Grappa's power source.
Yeah,
I could definitely see it. For sure.
you just snag the key synergy and then go.
Yeah.
Both of these players are like skilled at DTS. I gotta say, this is really cool. Actually,
Yeah.
I never thought there was gonna be a double DTS farewell moment, and this
Yeah.
is actually really cool to see in Bingo. Regardless,
I think this is the first time I've seen both players do GTS and Bingo, so
this is a really
cool.
cool moment. Yeah.
The one thing Tio gained from not ticking Grabless there is that Vertal was scared into ticking Event Horizon immediately, which is good because then he doesn't end up delaying
That
and
is
losing more
good.
time.
we'll go to the summit. both going to Summit. Okay.
This is a pretty critical race.
Yeah. Who gets these, I think they just win.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems about a 2-second difference at this point between the players.
Yeah, it's not a lot for sure.
Oh man, I'm nervous.
I know.
But we'll just skip the gem trust.
Theo pausing to tick.
But
Yep.
they'll actually
What if-
skip the gem.
So does Tio.
No, Tio remembers.
Oh,
He
resetting.
remembered.
Well, so
Let's go.
Virgil was just rushing the binos. But
I
now,
guess it's fine.
Get the gem.
interesting.
Huh.
Doing the gem dance.
This works out all right for Tio because I think he wasn't going to get the bino objective anyway.
Yeah,
Virgil played this 500 pretty well.
I don't think so.
But what does Tio make of that? Does he quit out now? This is such a clean late game from Virgil. He's leaving no room for Tio to come back.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Both players are like just playing. Their skills at this game are just incredible, really.
It's 2 blue, 2 red for Virgil, right?
He has...
Oh yeah, Tio.
What hearts does he have?
No, he has 5 beards, you know, I know for sure.
I don't know if he has any others.
Might not, but you can get 2A, 4A pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
He has access to both, so. And that's cool. Yeah, it's looking really hard for Tio, actually.
And Virgil also does have a significant progress lead towards 4 optional Theo cutscenes.
Wow. Is there any way Tio could come back? Get 3 gems and summit, it's 9. What you go after that? We'll base start at 3A, I guess?
Yeah, he probably needs Virgil to go back into Summit and like after Tio delays this, if he does.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that he will. Because he probably expects it to be an execution race.
Yeah. Probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
which makes
taking this
sense.
right away. You can't bet that Verdal didn't leave.
Oh.
Did leave, I mean.
And then we see another 1B play.
Yeah.
I think it might be too late. Tio does have... Actually, I don't know if either of these players has the 3A heart. Because Tio had to do the awkward huge mess order. Virgil has 1 blue heart.
1 blue.
Let's see.
Does Tio have 2 blue already?
I'm not sure, actually.
Me neither.
Like the way Birdo gets this anyway, so.
This is tough. This is tough for Tio's side, I mean.
Yeah, this endgame was super cleanly executed by Virgil. His routing was really clean, and I think Tio didn't accurately predict where he would be going. So he identified that the farewell synergy was strong, but not that he was behind and that his opponent was also gunning for it.
Yeah.
Oh, Tio has the hearts for core. Or I hope. He's here.
You mean
I
Verdal?
don't think he does.
Oh, it's Virgil, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I was
got
like,
switched up.
Tio's
Okay.
got 2.
Vidal ticked off 2 blue, 2 red, so.
Yes. I had switched up with the screens I was looking at here.
You're good, you're good.
I
Tio
just,
going
to be
Pico.
honest, I
Going
kept getting really
Pico.
confused when Vidal and Fu would pop up on Tio's screen. So, I feel that for sure.
Pico content for the people.
Yo, the people. People asking for it.
Pico for Sex Rec specifically.
True.
All of the matches today have been really cool to watch. This has been really fun.
Yeah, that's good.
Tio retrying and restarting Pico.
Oh no!
The classic.
That is truly a hood classic.
That is such a
Oh my
moment.
goodness.
So if you don't understand what happened there, basically, a lot of people have a quick retry kind of thing, and there's no retry in Pico. There's just reset Pico, and it's happened to the best of us.
So in regular gameplay, you would pause and then press the quick restart button. You would retry it, but if you do that in Pico, you restart Pico. So yeah,
Yo,
not great.
Pico again. Oh, never mind. I'm getting intel that maybe it was because of missed berries.
Yeah, but he could have just died in that room,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
instead he.
You know,
it wasn't far. It was only like the third room, so it's not too big.
yeah.
A deal.
It's not too big a deal. It's just funny.
Also,
only
I don't
missed
know where
one
any of
berry.
the berries are in Pico, so shout outs to the people who actually know where the berries are.
What do you mean you don't know where they are? They're right there on the screen.
True.
I'm not an eye user sometimes.
That's fair enough. Eyes are difficult. So. Yeah, we're currently just waiting for Virgil to finish score.
One thing that our Bingo UI mod adds to Pico is a berry counter. So normally when you finish a room, you see the time, but also we've added a berry counter here so that these players don't need to keep track while they're playing. That is one thing you would not see while playing this vanilla.
I forgot that was a bingo UI thing, to be honest.
Yeah, that mod adds
That's
quite
so long.
a few nice quality of life things for playing Bingo. If you are interested in playing yourself, there's a Bingo UI mod, and then also we saw Talia earlier playing with the Bingo client mod, which allows you to see the board in game. It's also a very cool thing. Of course, these players are generally the best of the best, but there are a lot of new Celeste players who play Bingo. So at all levels, we have people competing or also just playing casually to do matches. So if this looks like something that's up your alley, definitely give it a try. You do not need to be proficient at the whole game speedrunning to get into Bingo.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why we have different, we have our different difficulty levels. You can play with people that are around the same comfort zone as you in both Bingo experience and just playing the game experience. It's really, really fun.
Alrighty, and Virgil gets his 13th objective. Very well played. That was a really cool endgame from him. That is the end of our last round 1 match.
all really good games, honestly.
Yeah, this was so much fun. All these players are just so talented. It's amazing to watch and see. And we have more tomorrow. It's not done yet. This was just our round 1. We have the semis and finals tomorrow. We're gonna have our 4 commentators are gonna come back, switch it up a little bit with the pairings, and you'll get to see even more amazing bingo matches, different objectives, different matchups. It's gonna be so fantastic. Y'all have any last wrap up words you wanna talk about? Talk about Celeste community, anything like that?
Pro Series Summer
Sure.
Season Finals.
On Celeste community, we have a fair different kinds of events.
And Luminosity, where Exit.
We'll be having another tournament on later this month. You'll hear about that tomorrow. And then we host
I just put
plenty
the
of other
information
bingo
of
events. And
the Celeste community Twitch and YouTube both in the chat.
yeah.
That's where we're going to continue to have events there.
And then
And
I
we also have a
will
link to the Discord where you can play bingo with people.
let you all know that you should keep an eye on the YouTube. There's going to be a few videos going up later today that you'll probably want to see. And that
Anything
is all
from
I
you,
will say
Sugar?
at this time.
Seems to have
I think I've
awoken
said
the sleeping
everything.
giant in T1 and the rest
Thank
of
you
those
both for
matches kind of playing
commentating.
heavily
That was
out.
Yeah, this was cool.
I'm
fantastic.
just surprised to see T1 taking
This
it.
was
Obviously, they
fun.
got a title defend here today, so they're definitely going to be
Sure.
playing the best that they could possibly can.
Heck yeah,
Little
yeah,
bit
we'll be back
upset
at
overall that we didn't
1
see
p.m.
at least a little bit of a closer scoreline there
Eastern.
from Moist. Like we said,
Gonna have the
bouncing
two
off the upset
semifinal
against
matches and then a
Xset
best
from
of
few days
three
back. Thought we would have
for
seen
the
them play that series
finals.
just a little bit closer,
So
but
you
either
can
way,
again
they
do
still have their chance for
exclamation
redemption,
mark
just like
bracket
Luminasi did in a lower
to
bracket.
see all the
Yeah, so
matchups
here
that
you
we're
see
going to
kind of the
have.
state of our bracket.
And please give
so
all the runners a
far.
follow.
It is
I've been
gonna be
posting
Space
those
Station
links in
and
chat as
Xset in that upper match number 3. and then
the
match number
Flame Fatale's
4,
prize
which I believe-
submissions are open. The information is now on Twitter at Games Done Quick. Games Done Quick's Twitter. We have all the information there. I'll also post a link right to the prize submissions in the chat. But I think stick around for the raid, and we'll see you for the second half of our tournament tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Bingo!
Bye.